Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening to everybody, depending on where you're at. It is so good to see you. Pop culture curator here, once again, back with my excellent, fantastic, amazing panelists for another review of the classic series Lost in Space. I'm really excited, most of all, because we're actually on time tonight. I actually got all my ducks lined up ahead of time. So I have
Hey,
to say, I am proud of myself for that for a change. Yes,
hey,
girl.
at least you know where your ducks are at.
Yeah, exactly, when I can find them, right? I'd rather lose my ducks than my marbles, I suppose.
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
And I'd like to say, first of all, hello to my co-panelist, Gorilla. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
Fantastic. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. I know you had a few storms there that you had to ride out.
No, they went all south of us.
Well, good. That's always good news. And PvP, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Is my mic working okay, guys?
Yep,
Yes,
we
you
can hear
sound
you fine.
perfect.
Oh,
Yep.
good, good. I just wanted to check because I have one of these headsets where the cord tends to tangle at times, so I have to like untangle it and spin it around. And I'm just worried one of these days the wire is going to finally give out and I'll have to replace it. But fingers
Accord?
crossed.
Accord? What's that?
Yeah, well, I
Just
do have.
kidding.
I got a USB, but it was cheap enough and it works well. So.
Oh, no, no. It's so I was just kidding. I have cord too. I
Oh.
don't trust Bluetooth headphones because there's a delay. There's a lag in them. I've actually bought a pair
Uh-huh.
and it was a waste of money. I had to go back to
Oh.
actual plugins. So with mic and with audio with headphones, for me, I always use plug-in.
Yeah, it's like I still got a cable plugged into the wall here because I know if you're doing Wi-Fi, it can be a pain on the internet. So yeah.
It is right, especially with StreamYards. It's a big bandwidth hog. So I would definitely recommend
Mm,
if anybody's out there using StreamYards and you're streaming.
that's not good.
And magnificent, wonderful Jill, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. Just as you described me, I'm doing just fine. Nothing really to report. Just ready to talk about the episode.
Well, I want to say first, thank you ahead of time for the stills. I know that's a lot of work and it's very tedious, and I really appreciate it. And I'll let Jill explain. Her slide's going to be a little different tonight. So for people out there that are viewing or either viewing the stream live or on the rerun, you will notice a slight different in format. Go ahead, Jill.
Well, the only difference really in the slides today is that I exported it into a video, so the slides will go by every 6 seconds rather than when I click. So I mostly wanted to make sure the panel knows if you need me to pause it or go back, I still can do that.
All right, that sounds perfect. And I once
Okay.
again appreciate it. I know that's a lot of work, so thank you, Jill.
A lot of
Boy,
fun too.
we're gonna have to read those subtitles quickly then.
Well, yeah, right. And like I've explained before on previous streams, and like with my Gilligan's Island stream, we have to skip, like Jill said, every 6 seconds. So we're not going to be
Okay.
able to cover everything they say. It may seem a little jumbled or with gaps missing in as far as not making sense. So the reason why we're doing this review is to basically brush over the episode, give you our reviews of it. But most of all, first and foremost, we recommend you watching it yourself, so it does make sense. That's why we're going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's why we're going on a
This
week by week basis. Go ahead, Jill.
this is mostly to help you jog your memory of the episode if you haven't seen it in a while.
Right, and hopefully it'll pique your interest for you to watch it again. So either if you have not seen it before, I hope that it'll make you watch it, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, it'll make you want to watch it again. But either way, definitely watch the episode, not just the review, because there's a lot that we can't fit into each of those 6 seconds. So it's the same with all of our reviews. And I know we've had some people waiting in the chat, which I really appreciate. Some of you guys are really patient. Some of you guys have already been here for almost an hour.
Wow.
And that's very kind and dedicated of you. And I just want you to know that I do appreciate it, and it does mean a lot to me. In fact, as a matter of fact, it looks like my good old friend Jim was here first. Jim's Landscape LLC, #1 Commodore Productions. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, danger. And by the way, a bit of trivia. He only says that once in 3 seasons. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. It's just that that's what really stuck. That's what everybody
The,
remembers from Lost in
well,
Space.
well, Pop. There's that's just like the joke that with Scott or beam us up, Scotty, but they've never actually ever said that in the show. The closest they ever got was was Scotty beam us up.
From
And
Star
then
Trek
one
4.
time, what?
They
From
do.
Star,
They do. Yes, in Star Trek 4.
Star
You know
Trek, but in the animated series he says
Series
beam us
2.
up, Scotty. In the animated series he says beam us up, Scotty, with a little bit of a pause.
And
Okay,
so,
that was
but
one
what you're
time.
saying is TOS. In terms of TOS, you're completely correct.
Yes. And we all know why, because of the drugs, right?
The LDS.
I thought it's the cocaine.
Well, what it was is, okay, I'll explain this because I'm sure people in the chat are going, what are they talking about? I thought this was Lost in Space. No, let me explain what's going on. We've all heard the famous line that supposedly Jimmy Doohan said in Star Trek DOS would beam me up, Scotty. Well, okay, he never actually said those words during the original series. I used to attend a lot of conventions back when I was young and I was in the military. I was in the Bay Area, so it was San Francisco was right there. So all the big conventions were in San Francisco. So I basically got to meet. I basically was able to meet. Sorry for the bad grammar. I was able to meet all of the original cast, some of them more than once. And what they
Wow.
explained, because they were asked on stage, people, obviously fans are asking all kinds of, all sorts of questions. And one question that was almost at every convention was, why don't you guys ever say beam me up, Scotty? Why is it known for that, but you guys never actually say that? And they said, well, the problem is that phrase has been associated with drug dealing. So it's similar to if for any of the older people in the audience, there used to be an old show on the air. Well, there's a remake now that's on the air called Hawaii Five-0, and drug dealers would. It turned out to be a slang where they would start saying, instead of saying police or cops, they would call them Yo 5-0. The 5-0 was coming, something like that. And one of the terms that came from that show, which was the most popular term, just like Danger Will Robinson from Lost in Space, the most popular term from Hawaii Five-0 was Bookum Dano.
Oh yeah.
And that, yes, they ended up using that phrase as a drug, kind of like a clue. I can't quite put my finger on the
Euphemism?
word. That's it. Thank you, Jill. Yes, as a euphemism when they were doing a drug transaction. So that's the background that like I had Jimmy Doohan explained it, William Shatner explained it. I saw several of them explain it at different times, and they all had the same reasoning, and that was, unfortunately, the term "beam me up, Scotty" became a euphemism for dealing drugs.
I never
So
knew
that's
that.
why
Interesting.
that's why they kind of turned it on its ear for Star Trek 4, where they said "Scotty, beam me up." That was a direct cue to the fans saying, we can't say the exact words, but we'll say the closest thing to it.
Oh.
So I was almost a wink at the audience without actually physically being a wink at the audience, if that makes any sense.
It does.
All right.
Yeah, yep.
Lemon Pie says, hello, Pop. Hello, Lemon Pie. It's so absolutely fantastic. Good to see you. And Lemon Pie says, hello, Jim. PvP says, hello. And Lemon Pie says, PvP, all hail the Lord of the Eggnog. Bow down before thee.
Oh, and the animated series doesn't say it, but it gets very close in the Lorelei signal. They say, Scotty, beam us up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for clarification.
By the way, my finger slipped on the keyboard over the next couple of comments here, so if they don't make sense, that's why.
Lemon? No, it does. It's the old Fonzie term. Hey, lemon. Hey. No, if that's not dated, I don't know what is. PvP says, all hail the Lord
Hey.
of the Eggnog.
Who's this Fonzie person?
Who's the Fonzie person, right? I know. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm old, so every now and then you might hear me refer to something very
everybody
ancient.
knows Fonzie. Everybody knows Fonzie.
That was a big thing back in the 70s and early 80s, yes. That he basically dominated the airwaves. PvP says, eggnog jokes. And PvP says, darn fingers slight on the keyboard. Limvi says, that's quite a yoke to place upon me. PvP says, luckle. And PvP says, LOL. Darn can't type tonight. Well, it happens to the best of us. Believe me. By the way, I'm happy because I got for the first time, I know this is kind of off topic, but I'll make it fast. I finally got a general practitioner doctor. I'm going to be going to physical therapy so I can hopefully obtain use of my left hand again. So no more tapping with one finger on the right hand or a couple fingers on the right hand.
Congratulations. That's great news. It's always nice to have a regular doctor, Pop. It really is.
I know. So well, I have doubts about general practitioners because every time you're sick, they can't see you for a couple months. But
Yeah.
what I'm taking from it is the fact that she's going to hook me up with the physical therapist. And
Yeah.
right now, I have trouble just pointing and getting my pointing finger straight. And if I try
Oh.
to type, it messes up. So yeah, I'm all
Mm.
excited. Physical therapy, get my strength and my dexterity back. I'll be excited for
Well,
that. That'll be my.
That'd be
well,
yeah, that'd be great.
that's what your middle. All you need is your middle finger. That's all you need.
Can't even do it. I can't even do that right now. Sorry. Well, but I'm right-handed. My right hand
Uh,
is just fine, so I will not disappoint if you ever need me to.
That's pretty amazing that you still have these streams without the use of your other hand, because I do so much typing. Everything I do for YouTube is typing, and that's
I know it's
amazing.
well, I'm able to, but obviously a lot slower, and I'm making more mistakes. But my favorite author of all time, Ray Bradbury, typed with one finger on each hand throughout his entire career. He had the old manual typewriter. He never had internet, never had a cell phone, and he typed with one finger on each hand every single thing that he ever wrote. So I'll always
I,
remember that. So I'm not going to complain.
actually, I'm a one finger typer too, and actually I've gotten pretty good at it over the years because I actually think I can type faster, with using single fingers than I can trying to do the proper, because I did, take some, a little bit of training on how to, type with your whole hands, but I could never master it. So I just went
Well,
back to
I
single
know the
fingers.
hardest thing to get over is doing it without looking. When I was
Oh
teaching
yeah.
typing, when I was a teacher, we had typing class, and I actually taught typing. So I made these little cardboard, kind of like little covers to cover the students' hands, so they couldn't see their
Oh
hands as they
wow.
were typing.
Interesting.
Yep, and that was a way of really getting them into it really fast. And besides, they were
Huh.
using Mavis Speak and Teaches Typing, so they had a blast. It's actually a excellent teaching tool. I don't. I'm dating myself once again. I don't know if Mavis Speaking still exists, but I recommend it if you're ever teaching your kids or anybody.
Yeah, whatever app I used, it was like a space adventure. But I had little black stickers on my keyboard to keep me from seeing where the letters were.
Oh, well,
Oh
that'll
wow.
work too. That'll
That's not,
yes.
that sounds like a lot of work, Jill, putting on all those little stickers.
Well, I didn't do it. Someone else did.
Now,
Of
now
course
what
she
you
didn't
got?
do it. Of course, the student's not going to do it.
No, what you gotta do is hook the taser up to it there. Then every time they look down or they press the wrong keys, zap,
So
zap.
the teacher sits at the desk with the box with all the little lights and switches, right? Oh, chair
Yeah.
number 28, zap. Chair number 2, zap.
Oh boy.
Hey, teacher pretty darn fast.
Oh yeah, sure they will. Once the spasms cease.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's only asking for a lawsuit. That's all.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. No big deal, right?
I just couldn't wait to get through my typing so I could play games.
That's
There
another
you go.
thing too. Is right because once again I'm old. When I took typing, it was typing. I mean, manual typewriter, just and copying off of a sheet in a clipboard. But now the kids they have games intertwined and programmed with the typing programs. It's great because the kids don't realize they're learning. They think, oh, they're playing games, and it's like Jill would say, they would get excited to get to the next game or the next level, I guess, as it were. So I
No,
thought
this
that
was
was
after the actual typing. I played Breakout or Doom or something.
Oh,
Oh,
you
so
guys did Breakout or Doom? We had Oregon Trail.
oh, who can complain about Oregon Trail? That's number
I'm
one.
not
That's like the
Yeah,
best
complaining.
thing out there.
I'm not complaining, but my kid gets so bored playing that game.
Well, by yourself without friends and oh yeah, eventually you're going to get burned out. And besides, I've mentioned this before, but I mean, geez, this is 2023. We need an updated multiplayer online version of Oregon Trail. I mean, why not? What are they waiting for? It's one of the biggest selling games of all time. But imagine a multiplayer game where all of us, like right now, are playing online, and one of you guys is the cook, one of you guys is the one that goes hunting, one of you guys is the forager, or whatever, so on. I mean, that's the way to do it.
Well, back in the 90s, all they had was Oregon Trail, and all the schools bought it. That's why it's the number one selling game.
It's actually been around since the 80s. It originally was originated by MECC,
Yeah.
Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium.
No,
Apple
but
II.
like our schools didn't get computers till the 90s.
Right, but oh geez, I remember Oregon Trail being on a 5 1/4 inch floppy. That's definitely dating me now. But the thing is, they do have brand new versions like on Steam, and that you can play. But it's like basically the same old Oregon Trail with better graphics. The thing is, it's not 3 dimensional. It doesn't have like it's not like 2023. There's no excuse for them not having an internet version where multiple people can play, or perhaps where you can have two teams competing against each other, where your wagons are going side by side, something like that. I mean, there's so many possibilities. Uh, Whoever's owning Oregon Trail now, if you're listening, please take note, and I'll send you my address later for the check. I want my check because
There
believe
you
me,
go.
that'd make a lot of money, I'm sure. And Lemon Pie says hello, Gorilla and Jill.
Hey,
And Lemon
Scurvy.
Pie, yeah, always good to see Lemon Pie. I use chatbot corded earphones. They are awesome. I totally agree. Not only that, though, some people I know like to use earbuds, but there's something wrong with my ears. I've never been able to get a set of earbuds to fit. I'll put them in, they'll pop out. I push them in, they'll pop out. I cram them in until I get sore ears, and they still pop out. So I've never been able to use earbuds. There's something wrong with the way my ears are shaped. It's probably
I
my
just
head and then my ears, I guess.
I just think they'd be uncomfortable, so that's why I like a good set of, over the ear, headphones, proper headphones, right? So
You won't recognize me without earbuds.
I spend a lot of time in the gym. I can never find a pair. I mean, as soon as you start jogging, as soon as the first time you go up and down, they fly out. So I just said, forget it. So I still have the old fashioned over the head headphones, and I like them. Hello, Suzanne. Suzanne Eckstein. So
Hey.
good to see you, everybody.
Hey, Suzanne.
Yes, everybody.
Hello.
We're gonna we'll have a link popping up as our Stream Elements. Hopefully, Stream Elements bot. If you're out there, if you can hear me, it's time to wake up. It should start scrolling through here pretty soon through the chat, and you will see a link. Suzanne, excellent Suzanne is having a fundraiser. She's a single grandparent raising her grandson, and she could use any help that we can give. So please, Suzanne's very sweet. She's an excellent person and a wonderful YouTuber. So I highly recommend it, and keep an eye out for that in the chat. And right on time, Suzanne says, Jill, hail. And Suzanne says, Gorilla, hello. And she also says, PvP, hello. And she says, Lemon Pie, hiya. Lemon Pie says, hi there, Suzanne. And Suzanne says, Jim, hello. And Suzanne, hello, says PvP. And there it is. There's a link to PvP's channel. Thank you for putting it in there for us, Suzanne. Everybody, do check out PvP's channel. He's the guy that's on the panel right now on the bottom left. And Phantom Boomer, hail, hail, Phantom Boomer, says, Suzanne Eckstein, howdy. Howdy, partner.
Hey,
Suzanne
Boomer.
Epstein says, absolutely. Phantom, hello, says Suzanne. And Suzanne drops a link for the Phantom Boomers channel. Everybody, do check that out. Fantastic. Suzanne, I really appreciate you doing that for us. And the Phantom Boomer says, Lemon. And Lemon says, Suzanne says, I still say so on the way when cops are coming. Yes, just hush, hush. Don't do it when they're standing outside the door of or the window of your car.
Well, that's player than what we did when we were going through school. There, it's called squeak, squeak.
When I was in 10th grade, I ditched school one day. I'm guilty. I'm not guilty. And then, like, that same night, I was with my mother. She was driving somewhere. I was on the passenger side in the front seat. We stopped at a red light, and I looked over, and there's my teacher right there, my English teacher, Miss Alpinarian. And she's looking right at me. And then she gave me this dirty look, and she starts shaking her finger at me. I flip her off, and she flipped me off back. Can you imagine? So I have to admit, I was surprised, and it was a little awkward when I went back to school the next day. But I guess
hilarious.
at least she wasn't. Yeah, at least she wasn't my Bible teacher. So Lemon
Thank
Pie
goodness.
says, "Yo, Phantom, right? Yo, Phantom," says Lemon Pie. Phantom Boomer says, "Hi, Pop, Jill, Gorilla, and PvP." And there's
Hey,
Stream
Phantom.
Elements finally coming too, with a plug for Euler Greg's channel. And oh boy, Stream Elements is really full force tonight. And there's a link to, for the wonderful Antiderivative Jill's channel, and she's also on the panel up here on the bottom right. And Suzanne Eckstein says, Arthur Fonzarelli, is and or was the Fonz. He's a nice guy. He's still around, and I know he's on some TV show. Sorry, I haven't watched TV in such a long time, but I know he's still keeping busy, which is a good thing. And Suzanne Nixon says, "Pop, that's great news." Yes, it is. You mean about my teacher? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Sean, so good to see you, Sean. I hope you're doing well. Everybody, I want you to check out Sean Carter's channel, the Sci-Fi Model Guy. We will be popping up a link to his channel. It's amazing. The guy does some. I mean, you need to sub because he's got so many videos of him assembling all these excellent models like Star Trek, Constitution class, TOS, all these different things. So I highly recommend Sean Carter. Hey everyone, just an FYI, I may not be on YouTube on this name much longer. I had 2 comments removed for harassment and cyberbullying, which I do not do. Yeah, we agree you never do, and sadly they don't tell you which ones.
Gee, that sucks. Wow.
I had 2 comments removed for harassment and cyberbullying. I don't see how your name could trigger that, Sean. I mean, even if you change your name now, and that's now. Okay, I'm not sure the whole story what happened, but Sean says I had 2 comments removed. Now, if it's what I think it, if it's 2 comments within a chat on a stream, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. That's not like getting a strike or a warning on your channel. But that's just my opinion, Sean. I think you'll be okay. What do you guys think? Gorilla or Jill?
that'd be like an LDG question.
I've never heard of this happening to anybody ever, so I couldn't say.
I'm puzzled. I really can't offer much because I really don't know. I've never heard of this, to be honest. Like, it seems bizarre though, because Sean's such a decent, polite guy. Anytime I've ever chatted.
Oh,
with
definitely. There's no question there.
I've only had one thing where they removed my chat for harassment and all that. Yeah, but I didn't get a strike, but I deserved that one.
The thing is, though, there's some channels that are constantly attacking, things or even people, and they never seem to get taken down. So hopefully Sean will be okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's it, right? Because it would have to take a lot for something to flag something like that. I'm wondering if just some jerk might have complained just for no reason. Even then, I can't see why somebody would do that. Yeah. Sean's a nice guy.
I'm pretty sure Sean's wasn't nearly as bad as mine.
It's probably just somebody that was in the chat and they didn't like something Sean said, so they just thought they'd be a dick and go ahead and do that, right?
Was it a comment or in the chat?
Well, he said comments. 2 comments removed.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, Gorilla.
Comments, that's a different story than in the chat. They just remove it in the chat. It's nothing.
This is not a moderator thing.
Okay.
Right, and I think if somebody did complain, they were probably just jealous because Sean has a better channel than them.
Yeah, I'm kind of guessing they must have some kind of agenda at work there because it makes no sense, to be honest, to me.
And we all know online people are always looking for something to get offended, no matter how small and insignificant it is. So, Sean
it could, but just been someone misinterpreted the chat and thought it was offensive.
That's possible, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, if you guys have ever posted comments, like, I'm really into music, right? So I often, type in little comments under the video, on the rewatch. I'll just type in, whatever the person's talking about, and I'll just make a comment about, oh yeah, that's really good, or that's great, or whatever. And I'll type in a comment, and I don't know how many times over the last 4 years I've had some idiot, come on and type another comment under mine, of course, so you have to reply, and they just want to argue about stuff, right? They're just saying, oh, you're wrong, or blah blah blah. It's usually quite often nasty stuff too. I just ignore them now because I've gotten so used to it. But it's amazing how many trolls are on YouTube, quite frankly.
It is. Oh, I used to, when I had my original channel name, Super Blubberpuss, I was attacked left and right constantly. There was never a time where I would get into chat or on a panel and people would just go out immediately. They were triggered just by the name alone. That's the only reason why I don't have that name anymore, is because people just couldn't handle it. And even though when you look at you can break it up in syllables and the words are not, there's nothing in there that's offensive, but people chose to make it offensive.
Yeah, it doesn't sound offensive to my ears, so I don't get it.
No.
Yeah, well, YouTube doesn't exactly there are lots of free speech problems on YouTube, and so they just think
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Try
And
typing
some,
in a. Go ahead, Jill.
and some truly horrendous comments about actual hate speeches that left alone. It's weird.
Yeah,
That's the
if
crazy
you're a
part.
certain
Yeah.
right, if you're a certain political affiliation, then everything's just fine regardless of what you say.
Well, it's
All
like
right.
even a simple curse word. I mean, you type in a 4-letter word for poop, and if you're looking on the the typing, the text. I mean, they'll always censor that. It seems like they'll just take
Well,
it right
I
out of the
have
text.
well to be specific on that point, I do have my StreamYards programmed to where there's certain words that it will not allow. So if you see that, it will not be YouTube doing it. It's my program that's self. And because we can verbally say it when we're on our horror sci-fi streams, because a lot of those movies are rated R, obviously. And my rumblings
Right.
from the lab, everything's open for us to say on the panel. But
Yeah.
when I do Lost in Space and Gilligan's Island, I try to keep them a little more family oriented because children may be watching because they're rated G shows.
Yeah, it is
So
PG. Yeah.
right, so I do have certain words, and I'm sure you guys know which ones. The programs that if you try to put them into Stream Elements, I don't know if it blocks that word or your entire comment. I don't know yet.
I have
But
certain words I block too. It's a good policy.
It's a good
it is,
idea. Yeah, I agree.
and most people respect it. So I've never had that issue. So it's not like I've had to go in and actually chastise somebody. So I'm happy for that. But Sean, if you do decide to change your name, please let us know. And I guess the next question, obvious question, is the sci-fi model guy already taken? Because if anything, change it to that one because we know you're that. Sean Carter says, so I have no way to see why or protest it. So YouTube may remove me if someone is targeting me.
Well, let's hope not.
Well, Sean, did it happen like? Oh, that's right. You said it wouldn't tell you when and where. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I guess my question, Sean, is: did you notice your comment being removed in the chat while you were on a stream, or did you get some sort of notification from YouTube? Because YouTube won't notify you if somebody. I'm guessing it has to be with somebody doing a complaint, but I don't know. I'm not an expert. There's people out there that know a lot more than I do, but I hope it doesn't happen again. That's not fair.
Yeah, it really
We,
sucks.
right, to be target of some idiot that's harassing you, absolutely.
Yeah.
Suzanne says, Sean Carter, hello. And Suzanne drops a link to Sean Carter's channel. Thank you, Suzanne, everybody. And as I said before, please check it out. He's a wonderful guy, and he's got some great content. And Sean Carter says, hello, Suzanne. And the Phantom Boomer says, Sean Carter, hello. And Lemon Pie, thank you, Lemon Pie. There's that link that we were talking about. Lemon Pie dropped it, though. I appreciate Lemon Pie. That's for Suzanne Eckstein and her fundraiser. Please, if you're able to, if you're so inclined, help her out in any way you can. She's definitely a deserving person and a very kind soul. Sean Carter says, at Lemon Pie at Phantom Boomer, hello. And Lemon Pie says, howdy, Sean. And Antiderivative Jill says, oh no, I hope not, Sean Carter. That's not cool to not be clear and real, which shouldn't be possible. Jill, that reminds me, I need to talk later to you about my channel. That's a very, very good point. Sean Carter,
Oh,
I think they were in videos. The removals came with a warning that if it keeps up, they can deactivate my account.
Ouch.
The removals
Gee, that
came
does
with
sound
a
scary.
warning. I think they were in. He doesn't even know if they're in videos. He has to say, I think they were in videos. That is ridiculous.
That's weird. I've actually never heard of this happening before. That seems very unusual.
And all people, Sean Carter. I mean, I could see me getting a warning, but Sean Carter.
No, I could even see me getting a warning. Well, I don't stream, but I mean, sometimes I can go off the rails on chats. But Sean's such a polite guy. Like I don't get anything he said was ever offensive to my ears, at least.
That's what's terrible about YouTube. The fact that it's automatic. It used to be like that when I drove for Uber. If someone would
Uh,
make some false claim, Uber would take it seriously, and I'd get a similar threat to what Sean got.
oh, jeez.
And there was no appeal process.
So much for innocent till proven guilty, right?
Yep. And Suzanne says, I've had YouTube send me a warning saying I'm hateful, and if my comments continue, they would remove my of all people, Suzanne. Right.
What?
Yeah, see, that's why I know it's
Wow.
got to be Right? It's got to be some fool out there that's just being malicious. I'm sure of it.
That's
I'm
really
sure of it.
shocking. Like Suzanne's always when she comes into the chats on our streams, on different channels, I run into Suzanne in the chat and say hi. She seems like one of the sweetest people I've ever chatted with on here, and that's so strange. I don't get what's going on here. That's really weird.
It is. It's ridiculous and it's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
It's basically bullying. That means they're being bullied by someone. And what makes
Well,
it worse is
yeah,
YouTube is hiding that person's identity and
that's what
protecting
really
it.
sucks. Yeah. Why
Right.
are they protecting the cyber bullies and not the innocent people that are getting bullied?
Exactly. Right. And how about this? When they if you're really harassing, how about why don't they send you a copy of what it was you said? Huh? Prove it.
Well, that would be nice too, right? Yeah. It's like,
Then
what
they're
was offensive?
liable. Then they're liable.
Why are they
Oh
liable if they're
yeah.
just repeating what you said?
Because then they're acting like an edit. Because then people can claim that they're acting like an editor there when something they said might not have been harassment, but it's all a liability thing under Section 230.
So it's just like corporate behavior stuff,
It's
basically.
corporate
CY,
protection.
Yeah.
CYA. Lemon
Anyway,
Pie
are we?
says, is it possible the warnings are a scam and not from YouTube? And that I don't
Hmm,
know. I don't
that's a
know
good
if you've
thought.
ever heard that. It's not impossible, I'm sure. Sean Carter says, Suzanne, that's exactly what the warning said.
Wow.
Sean Carter says, Lemon Pie, no, not a scam. They were pop ups when I loaded the app. Ah,
That's so
lemon.
weird.
Okay, at a minimum, I don't know if it's going to make any difference, but I don't know if you have Twitter or not, Sean, but if you try messaging them on Twitter at Team YouTube and say, look, I got these warnings and I'm confused. I don't know what they are. Can you please clarify? At least help me out so I know what not to do again. I don't know if that would help, but I think it might be worth a try. I need to do the same thing about my channel, honestly. That's why I've been thinking about it. And that's the only reason why I know it's at Team YouTube is I'm trying to figure out how to word my message to them. Lemon Pie says, Sean. And Sean says, it's frustrating that I can't see what comment was they deemed inappropriate. We are all at the mercy of YouTube. Yeah, I know, and that's what's terrible. We're at the mercy of, number one, a bully who's lying and or exaggerating, and then two, an algorithm.
Yeah.
Sean,
Well,
yeah, it's YouTube. Sorry, go ahead, Gorilla.
I was gonna say, at least with mine, I knew exactly which one it was. It didn't surprise me at all.
Okay, all right, let me ask you a question, Gorilla. You know what comment? Was it something in the chat or on the panel? What was it?
Oh no, it was a comment on a video there. But they're on the guy ranked the top 10 Lord of the Rings scenes, and it is like the worst list I've ever seen. And I knew exactly what it was because I put let's just say what our word for, let's just say, mentally deficient person, Alabama inbred, came up with this.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, somebody just may get offended out there. I can understand that.
Yeah, so I knew exactly which one it was.
Okay. Sean, Suzanne says, Sean, yeah, it's YouTube reviewer. My comments were about the rainbow people. They said my comments were hateful. They even demonetized
Oh,
two of my friends' channels that I commented in.
that
What?
right there. When you talk about the San
Rainbow people.
Franciscoans, the San Franciscoans,
Watch out,
they
that's even offensive now. So yeah, I like her. I like her term, rainbow people.
we called them the Rainbow Mafia.
But yeah, especially because those are the ones that are in charge of YouTube and their demonetization, monetization, censorship, and everything else. You've got to be especially careful with that certain group. That with anything that's even slightly, I don't know. It doesn't matter if you're on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Those are the ones that seem to be the most sensitive. I'll put it that way.
Well, what gets me,
Unfortunately,
guys? What gets me, guys, is they, you know, can attack people like us and hate on us and do nasty things to us, but they don't have any consequences, right?
none. Because like we said, they're protected. We have no idea who did it. YouTube protects them.
Yeah. So it's like so much for democracy, you know.
And what happened to the at least here in the U.S. I think it's in the Constitution, or at least not the law, where you're able to meet your accusers. It's
That's
like,
what I
I'd like
always
to know
believe.
who did this, right? Yeah, what did
Well, even here, they'd have to take you to court, and you'd have a jury, and you'd have witnesses, and you'd
right,
have people
right.
in
In other
court
words,
doing the
right,
thing.
innocent, right. In other words, innocent until proven guilty, right? Which doesn't seem to exist anymore.
Well, that's what it should be. But yeah, it's well, I don't have to make any comments about the state of the world, really.
I know we all know. Suzanne says thanks, lemon pie, and Jim says hello. And Jim has a link there to 2 repair videos. Sean Carter says the model channel is under a different email.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but you can change. My question is, I'm okay. So what Sean Carter is saying, that when he got the warnings, they were on and under the name Sean Carter. But Sean, what I was wondering is, can you change the channel that's called Sean Carter? Can you change that to the Sci-Fi Model Guy? Would that be possible? Or has somebody already taken it? I don't know. Sean Carter says, "Oh no, it wasn't a stream. It was a comment in a video for sure, as it said, comment removed." So one of your build it videos for your models? Ah, talk about people grasping for straws. That's despicable. Jim says, "Hail, Suzanne," and Jim says, "Hail, Boomer." Suzanne says, "Jim, hello again," and Jim says, "Hail, Carter." And we're backing you, Sean. No matter what they do, let us know. And for all of you guys on Twitter, get ready, because if he gets any more complaints, let's back him up on Twitter. We'll all send messages to YouTube. And check out Hungry Boy's channel. I haven't seen him lately. I hope he comes back to our channel eventually. But I think this is around the time that he's probably asleep. Jim says, "Hail, Lemon." And Boomer says, "Damn it, Jim." And there's a link to Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Excellent channel. Excellent man. You'll find that he's the one that's on the panel up on the top right. And Suzanne says, "Oh no, guys, I'm 100% guilty of the comments. Lol, I have zero use for the Alphabet Mafia and their ilk." Well, I'm not going to argue with you on that, Suzanne. It's just that it's too bad that they lash out and attack. I mean, that's what's they don't like conflicting opinions, which is terrible. And they're the ones that are those are the ones that are basically eliminating freedom of speech. Lemon Pie
But
says,
that's
"Gorilla, go ahead."
oh, sorry, Bob. I just wanted to quickly say that's why I never bother posting comments about this group, because it's like there's no point, right? They're not going to change. They're going to be jerks, and I'm not going to be a target for what they're doing. So I just keep my mouth shut basically, and I'm like it's like okay, I'll choose the battles I want to fight. This one's not ever going to be won probably in the current state of the world. So I just stay silent. I can't be bothered really wasting my time.
Well, and I will say this: the fact if somebody's offended and they don't come to you and say, "Hey, can you not do whatever?" The fact they go behind your back and complain,
Oh yeah,
coward. COWARD.
I
Hey,
agree.
guys, let's hurry up on these here so we
I
can get
know
the
we're at
reviews.
6. I know we're 45 minutes into the stream. I was just thinking
Yeah,
about
we
that.
should really get to the episode eventually tonight.
All right,
Okay.
so
All right. Jim says, "Pop question: how can I get StreamYard elements for my channel?" There's a website called streamelements.com, or yeah, something along that line. You go and you register and you link your YouTube account to it. Jim, if you want to, next time you're on a stream or I'm on a stream, well, either way, either one of us, we'll open up a backstage, or I can just come on your stream and I'll show you how to do it. I'll kind of guide you through it.
all right, if you want, I can pop through these chats pretty fast for you.
Thank you, Gorilla.
All right, Cam, welcome, Cam. He's saying hi to everyone.
Hello,
Suzanne
Cam
said,
Cam.
I got yeeted from Twitter a week for the same thing. And here we
Aw.
got everybody saying hi to everybody there. Then Sky says, I stopped into this, and is this part of the Lost in Space episode?
Sorry.
Scotty,
Good
say
to
hi
see you, Scotty. But yeah, we were talking about other stuff.
We're
Sorry,
reading
Scotty.
we're reading the
There-
chats.
There's
There.
there's a rumor it may happen eventually, Scotty.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah, we're hoping one of these days, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Boomer says it's the legal system, not the justice system. Yeah,
Yeah, got that right.
Scotty, hello. Here's Scotty's channel. He says, Suzanne. Suzanne says, greets Beastie. Herc says, PCC, hello. And a wonderful panel, and salute to the usual suspects in the chat. Hey there,
Hey,
Herc.
Herc. Good to see you, Herc.
They're saying hi to everybody. Hi. Reality Strike says, Boomer.
Unfortunately.
Hey, brother. Spartacus? Says Scotty. And Cam, hi, Scotty. Welcome, Cody Guy. Welcome.
Hey,
Hi,
Cody guy. So good to see you. Glad you could join us.
And
Hello.
Boomer C4, your name is Jim. Scotty. Here is LDG's channel. Boomer, Suzanne. Good afternoon to you, Suzanne. Scotty RC7, please follow me on X so we can talk about Star Trek and other things.
Jim, post your Twitter handle in the chat so that Scotty and everyone else can see it.
Yeah, and Scotty's saying, okay, no loss of space later. And
No,
Scotty
we're going to be
says,
starting any minute now. We're just getting through the chat.
yes, hail to you, R1 through 36. Oh, whoops, and I just jumped on me. He says, I'm on a date and my smoke is done. Have a great rest of the day. You have a good night, Cam.
Yeah, thank you for stopping by.
Here's Sean Carter's channels. Jim saying hi to him. PvP, as a parent, I choose this battle. Yeah?
No, that's fine. I'm not disagreeing with you, Suzanne. It's just, I don't need the misery of being attacked by these idiots. So that's why I just say it's not worth it because their minds are never going to change. So,
Yeah, and here's Jim's Twitter handle. Here's Scotty's Twitter handle. I'm not gonna call it X because when I went to type X into the search bar up there, my keyboard stuck for just a split second there, and I ended up on a site there, and I see some things I do not want to see again.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Better clean that keyboard.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you're typing stuff on the internet. That's for sure.
Yep. And hail, they're saying hail there. We're all caught up. So this is everybody saying hi to everybody. So let's get this started.
Let's get the show on the road, as they say. So we pick up where we left off last week, where we have Dr. Smith, Penny, and the robot. And now we have Dr. Smith thinks he's suddenly an artist. So he's obviously overreacting with his brush strokes on the painting. And, of course, bragging about himself and his talent.
Yeah.
And judging by the smirk on Penny's face, I don't think she agrees with him.
Yeah.
Oh, this is brilliant. I love this scene. Love this scene.
Well, if his name was Hunter, he could sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Or Michelangelo, we're right. Renoir.
Yeah, I just love that scene because, I mean, I do have a bachelor's degree in fine art, which I studied for 4 years. And I just think it's hilarious, Penny's reaction all through this scene to Smith's painting. It's so good. And the robot's comment, too, is brilliant.
Yeah, after last week where the robot really came out of his shell, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of the new robot, which makes me really happy.
I'll be right back.
I agree. Yeah, I really enjoyed the robot in this episode. He was really great.
Jim says, "Hail Carter." Also hail Jill.
That is a really bad painting.
Well, what's funny is Professor Robinson says, "What is it?" And I would assume it was a leaf. I'd say, is it like a leaf, off a tree? But apparently not. And Dr. Smith is offended too deeply to explain to them exactly what it is. Instead, he just describes it. I don't think he even knows what it is, honestly.
I think he's just making it up, but it's basically an abstract painting. I mean, it doesn't represent anything, really.
Well, PvP, you are the art expert.
Trying to hide these.
You went to school for it. What do you think of?
What do you think? I think his painting is horrible, to be honest.
I do too, but I was wondering what someone who went to school for it would.
Yeah, it's like, well, the weird thing is, Jill, I was really big into abstraction. I've done landscapes and stuff too, but and still life, but I would generally gravitate towards abstract art. And there is a lot of really good abstract art out there because, there are some great artists that work in that genre of painting. But I got to say, Smith's painting is pretty bad.
Right. Even the robot thinks so. So he asked the robot to, or the robot asked if he could give his opinion, and he does, and he basically gives him a raspberry, judging by the sound that the robot put off.
Yeah, it was pretty
So
funny.
then we
Yeah,
have a.
the
Go ahead,
robot
Jill.
has full emotions now, and it's just amazing.
Yes. So and then we get a warning from the robot that there's a storm fast approaching. So that they all need to take cover, and unfortunately, Smith is running, trying to get his art, which flew away from him. And unfortunately, him and Professor Robinson get stuck outside as the storm kicks in heavily, and that's when we see the water tower tip over and fall and almost run over them. It was a great cliffhanger, by the way. This show has some fantastic cliffhangers, and I thought this was a
Yeah,
good
but
one.
luckily the water tank is empty.
Water tank is empty, thank goodness. Yes, which makes sense because they're always having to ration their water, and they mention later on that they're very low on water, so it actually ties in. And then we get a reveal of our villain of the week, the traitor.
Now
And
I was
go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say I was gonna make a comment, about great weather system, weather detection system they have there, but then what happens later in the episode? Okay, it makes more sense now.
Well, right, and then apparently Dr. Smith still hasn't gotten those storm arresters put up,
Yeah.
which was from last week, the week before. So we get a
Yeah,
reveal. Go
good
ahead,
old Smith.
PvP.
I was just
We
gonna
get
say
a
good old
reveal of
Smith.
our villain, which is a space traitor. And this guy has he's unfortunately now passed away,
Yeah.
but he has since passed. He extensive resume in Hollywood, starting from the 1930s, 20s, 30s. I'll be able to cover a little more in detail later on, which I will do. But this episode, no more ums. This episode is written by Barney Slater, co-written with Anthony Wilson, directed by Nathan Juran. Nathan Juran and this guy here who plays the traitor, which I will cover his name, were personal friends. They worked together many years in Hollywood. Nathan Juran, did you have any comment about this guy, PvP, before I go any further?
Yes, I actually do because I remember him in one of my favorite fantasy films of all time. The
I
Seven
thought so.
Voyages
That's
of
why I let you
Sinbad.
do it.
Yeah,
Right.
and of course we probably most of us know that that's one of Ray Harryhausen's most fantastic films, in my opinion. Anyway, and it was directed by Nathan Juran, and it did star Torrin Thatcher as the evil magician, which I thought was a brilliant performance on his part. So he's a very talented actor, I must say.
Yes, he was born in Bombay, India. He could have played Dr. Bombay on Bewitched.
Well, these
And of
episodes
course,
do rely heavily on the guest actors, and this is a really good one.
yes,
Yeah.
he's excellent. You could just tell by watching this. If you had never seen him before, you'd say, "Yeah, I could tell he's probably a villain in a lot of what he does." Jill, can you tell us what Star Trek episode he's in? Silence.
Oh, I
Cricket,
know the
cricket?
one. I know the one. I'm just trying to think of the title.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think we've covered it yet.
It's season 1, isn't it? I think.
Bear with me. I guess I should have done my homework. I did. I read it earlier, and now everything always my mind draws a blank when I get to.
Yeah, I'm
this part.
sorry too. I forgot.
I know the storyline. It's the one where they go to the planet that has the celebration for 12 hours. Where everybody goes crazy, right? If you guys remember that story. Oh, jeez, I can't.
You're not talking
The
to me.
Archons? What's he talking about? Yeah.
Apparently,
What's his name?
It was. Yeah, his name was Marplon. And thank you. And I know I looked it up earlier and it showed it, but now bear with me here, guys.
Yeah, just a sec. I got it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, so
and
PvP
I
was
read it
right.
earlier.
Return of the Archon. Return of the
Oh,
Archons.
yeah. It's
Right,
Return of
way
the
to go,
Archons.
PvP.
Yeah, Return of the Archons. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
That's a really great episode. That is that the first episode where Kirk talks a computer to death.
All right. Can we catch up on chat real quick?
I would say so if you don't count what little girls are made of.
Yeah. Can we
Oh, okay.
catch up? Can we catch up on chat?
Yes. Good. Yeah, thank you, Gorilla.
Eric says, I prefer to launder my money through Dr. Smith.
Oh yeah, he can be trusted.
Yeah,
you'd
one thing I noticed.
never see your money again.
Yeah, one thing I noticed. Smith takes the painting off the easel, rotates it, and makes some comments about its quality, then puts it back incorrectly. I wonder if that was on purpose.
Well, exactly. It probably was because Jonathan Smith has such a tight grip on this character. I'm sure it was intentional.
Hey, we got a celebrity in our chat. We got Taylor Swift in our chat.
There
All
you
right,
go.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Jill, can you read the-
Whoever he is. Go ahead.
Hey, Matt G. Matt
Hey,
G
Matt G.
says,
Good to see you, Matt.
Jill.
Hey, Matt.
Others. LOL. And he says,
Hey, he
Lander.
remembered you this time.
Yeah. Alrighty. We're all caught up.
Thank you, Gorilla. Oh, and I almost forgot. I can't believe I almost forgot. But this is, like I said, this is the trader, the space trader, and this episode is from season 1, episode 23, and it aired March 9th, 1956. I apologize. I usually mention that first before we even start, but there we go. So now we should be able to continue. I think we've got all caught up, and we get our reveal here. Like I said, this was the tag or the cliffhanger from last week, but now we get our reveal of the villain of the week, standing in front of this very obviously in 1960 19-inch television, black and white even. Oh, well, I guess it could be color. We have the episode in black and white, so that could be a color television. Which I could be wrong, guys, but it looks like it's perched on top of Maureen Robinson's laundry machine.
Could be.
Could be.
So apparently, by the wave of his hand, that reveals to us, the audience, that he must have caused this storm that the Robinsons just wrote out. And now is where we get I believe, our opening credits. Yep, it looks like so. And we get our cast introduction. And I wanted to read the assessment on this really quick. The space trader is a familiar type, the rambling merchant who supplies frontier people with staples or exotic items. Such rovers, from the tinkers and gypsies of Western Europe to the stereotypical traveling salesman, or an easy way to introduce a mischievous idea, or an intriguing device into a group of established characters. Star Trek would feature several, including Cyrano Jones and Henry Mudd. The story
I was
contains
gonna make that
Oh, sorry about that.
parallel. No,
Oh, by the
that's
way,
okay.
yes, right. They're a little more tongue in cheek than this guy. This guy plays a little more serious, but yeah, it's along the same
Sure.
tune. And I forgot to mention, everyone, what I'm referring to is from the book Irwin Allen's Lost in Space, the authorized biography of a classic sci-fi series by Mark Cushman, M-A-R-C, Cushman, with a C. This story contains an assortment of plot devices and gimmicks which mar many an episode of Lost in Space. Some have found here for the first time in the series, others already familiar filler items. Smith acts a complete moron more than once, first in the teaser as he risks his safety by chasing after his masterpiece, then by planning his life only days at a time. He trades the robot for a mere 10 days worth of food. This is the book saying this, not me. The dumbing down of the robot continues. He is now a rather crass art critic. Sorry, I need to mute all my stuff. Despite his lack of tact while critiquing Dr. Smith's attempt at painting, the robot has also become so hypersensitive that his feelings are hurt merely because Smith insults him back, as if an insult from Smith hasn't happened before.
Yeah, frankly, I
And
think it is a little funny how emotional he's gotten compared to previous episodes before the last one. It does seem to have come almost out of nowhere without too much of a preamble. Like now he's got emotions. He didn't
Hey,
before.
did you
He
know?
met Robbie, and now he's got.
Hey, Jill, did you miss the deleted scene where Don rewired the robot to start insulting Dr. Smith?
That would help. I would love that.
well, I have to ask though, isn't that similar to the episode with Data when he got his emotion shit? Didn't he go way overboard?
Yeah, but that was
Yeah.
in the movies, where the movies don't make any sense.
Well, they had
But
no,
the
they had
motion chip,
established.
the motion chip did happen in the regular series, but it didn't work out for all sorts of reasons because Lore
Yeah.
stole the motion chip.
Yeah, but but he did get it back, and he said he's putting it on ice until he can learn how to control it.
Which he did.
Correct.
I actually wonder though if there might have been some
That's
direction
debatable.
from Irwin Allen as to maybe changing the robot's personality to be a little more personable. Is that possible? I'm just wondering. Like, I don't know.
Well,
but-
perhaps. Well, we know Irwin Allen liked the way Jonathan Harris was portraying Dr. Smith, so perhaps he was trying to make them like a comedy duo. You know, like Abbott Costello, Laurel and Hardy. Maybe that's what he was
Sure.
doing. Maybe that.
Yeah, that makes sense because I gotta say, once the robot did develop more personality as the series went on, I did find his interaction with Smith a lot more fun. To be honest, it was really quite a lot of fun. A lot of episodes.
Right, and as usual with comedy duos, there's always a straight man, and the other one's the second banana. And I would guess the robot would be the straight man. I don't know. What do you guys think? If
Yeah,
any of those
probably.
terms
Yeah,
make any sense.
I think he should be.
But yeah, the robot is great in this episode. Like, I think this is actually probably the first episode in the series where the robot's personality really shines and comes to life, so to speak. So yeah, this is one reason I like this episode so much is due to the robot.
Okay. All right. So here we have the Robinsons. Unfortunately, when we had that storm, it destroyed their food supply. And as Jill mentioned, their water tank is empty. So they're unfortunately very dangerous on water and food. So the first thing they need to do is the women get together and start trying to put their garden back together, the hydroponic garden. And the men are out working on, I can't remember the name of the device, but they're basically trying to get their water device. I think it had to do with their water, but that weather damaged some of their equipment intentionally by the trader. And he'll be speaking more of that shortly.
Yeah. So what they should have done in this episode here was, as soon as they had to start rationing the food and water and all that, you don't work, you don't eat.
Also,
right.
Gorilla, what happened to fishing?
Dr. Smith broke all the lines. He lost
We're
all the
talking about
hook.
off camera, guys, off camera. So yeah, we're joking. Yeah, that was not in an episode. And of course, they're going to mention something that I'm going to bring up here soon, which is, unless one of you guys do first.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wait, what?
Huh? What? Barney Slater, the writer, was already on his 7th Lost in Space writing assignment. As soon as the mid-season pickup from CBS came in December 1965, Slater was put on assignment to write The Space Trader. His 2-page springboard from the early days of January read, "A howling storm sweeps down the Jupiter 2, and when it departs, the hydroponic garden has been destroyed and the water supply polluted." Realizing the desperate straits of his party, John Robinson puts everyone on short rations. Smith, a voice of doom, said it was only a matter of time until the planet got them all, and now it has. It is later that day that Swift and Will encounter the traitor. The alien, perhaps Michael Dunn, interesting they use his name.
Interesting.
Michael, yes. The good-humored individual has landed his spaceship and set it up as a trading post not far from Jupiter 2. Will and Smith gaze in awe and wonder at the wonderful things in which the trader has to sell. The fact that it mentions Michael Dunn's name in the outline for the episode, I'm guessing that the writer wanted Michael Dunn to play that role, which would have been nice. But then Nathan Juran, the director, said, no, I have somebody else I want to play the role. So apparently that's what happened.
Yeah, it would have been very different, I think, with Michael Dunn playing it. Would have been
Right,
interesting.
well, and any fan of the Wild Wild West knows he's a fantastic villain. I mean, not only is he a sympathetic character like from Star Trek, but he's a fantastic villain as well. He's an amazing actor.
Oh, Dunn is one of my favorite actors of all time. He's incredible in Wild Wild West. He really is.
Right. Will and Smith gaze in awe and wonder at the wonderful things which the trader has to sell. Not only is there food and water, but fabulous contrivances from all over the galaxy. 2 huge chained dog-like monsters guard the store. Well, of course, budget-wise, everybody,
adorable.
I know.
They wouldn't be so adorable if they got off their leash, though, Jill.
Oh, with me they would.
Are they not advancing or did it freeze on me?
No, Jill paused it.
I paused
Jill-
it because
Jill's-
this is a section of the episode where I think is a good place for pause.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jill. And it was
All right,
perfect. That way I was able to read part of the assessment. So thank you, Jill.
Oh, Taylor Swift was laughing about that others thing.
Glad you like it, Taylor.
All right. Then Cam's back. He says, "Last smoke before bed. Have a good one, everybody. Drop the like, please. Thanks." Yep.
All right. Have a great night,
Right.
Cam.
And Scurvy
Cam
says, Cam, your poor date is taking a backseat to YouTube. LOL.
Good night, Cam.
And Cam says, she's known me forever. She just laughs. Keep her. Yeah, until you get the frying pan up beside the head. Trust me.
Oh, jeez.
And Scurvy says, oh, that this is not a first date. Gotcha. LOL, Cam.
Oh, so it's okay.
Oh,
No,
it depends on the
it's a
woman.
second date.
It all depends on the woman.
Maybe she's a fan of YouTube. Maybe she likes Lost in Space. Yeah, you never know,
Well, I'm
right?
glad your friend's still around. That's awesome.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's where, obviously, since their food supply was destroyed, they're having to eat protein pills. So obviously,
Yum.
I mean, in my opinion, and I remember they experimented with these with the astronauts back in the day during the space age. And I mean, I'm sure they're packed with all the protein and vitamins that the body needs, but I'm sure you're still going to starve to death because there's no way that's going to fill your tummy, right?
Yeah,
Unless
but
they-
this is one of those classic sci-fi concepts that are
No,
frozen.
Pop.
Yes,
If you get-
because they were just toying with it back then, right? Because this is when, remember, NASA was in its infancy, and this is during the space race. So yeah, a lot of these terms they're getting from the ideas from NASA.
well-
Go ahead, Gorilla.
Well, Pop, as long as you're getting your nutrition, it shouldn't matter. Like, yeah, your stomach may feel hungry, but you're not going to starve to death because your body's still getting the nutrition. But you could eat if you eat just like rabbit or something, you'll still starve to death even though your belly's full because there's no nutrition in rabbit.
Well, what I
So-
always wondered. Go ahead.
So as long as you're getting your nutrition, you won't technically starve to death, but you might feel hungry.
Right, but what I always thought, even when I was younger, I always thought, well, if the pill is nutrition, which is fine and dandy, that's wonderful. Why can't it be timed? Like, like a capsule, like when you take medicine, there's a pill and there's a capsule. Capsules are timed, like sometimes like 15 minutes. Why can't it be timed where you pop the pill and then it swells within your stomach?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Go
That's
for
a
it.
good point, actually, Pop, because I was just thinking, like, it doesn't matter how the protein pills will keep you alive technically, but your stomach is going to be awfully hungry for some real food to digest, right? So,
Yes.
Well, that
yeah.
that makes sense. Just add water, except that now water is your stomach acids and enzymes, and
Yes.
maybe it'll be like in Willy Wonka where you get different courses. At first, it's the beginning of the course, the second course, and then dessert.
Then you might want to time them for 5 minutes, I guess. I don't know. And just tell people, after you eat the first pill, give it a few minutes before you eat the second one, right? Don't like pop 5 at a time.
Uh-oh.
You definitely don't want to do that with edibles. I'll tell you that.
No.
Oh, yeah, sounds like good advice there, Gorilla.
Oh, let me highlight this really quick. Suzanne says I'm packing it in early tonight. Folks, been a hellish long day. Good night, peace, and out all. Good night, Suzanne. Thank you for spending time with us tonight. I can't wait to see you again. Thank you.
Night.
Good night, Suzanne.
Good night.
I'm glad I saw that. I usually try to say good night to everybody before they leave if I can, instead of a half hour later. So here's where Dr. Smith and Will notice some alien signs written in an alien language with arrows.
Oh, yeah. Just a second. I
ahead.
had something on this when I was first seeing the signs.
It's a trap.
Sorry.
Right. Like they haven't figured that out by now, right?
Yeah, my
Yeah, I
thoughts.
see that. That's the first thing I thought.
Exactly my thoughts, too. Yeah.
Now, I spent 45 minutes looking for a downloadable clip of that, so.
Oh, that's good.
Well, not that though. I think if I saw right, you got a behind the scenes clip because he was sitting in front of a green screen
Yeah,
So
that's the
there's
only one I could find that's downloadable. Otherwise, I will
that's
had
fine.
to.
No, that's fine. It's interesting.
Otherwise, I'd have to pay for YouTube Premium.
That
That's
still
true.
made it still made the point, so it's all good.
And here is Suzanne's gift send go if anybody can help.
Now, I want to mention, yeah, I'm sure you guys recognize the spaceship with the shower curtain, right?
Yeah, it looks familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, that bottom, I'll elaborate. Of course, we've seen this in prior episodes, and we will see it again. But that base with the lights that rotate around it, that's the same base that we're going to later see. We saw it first in the derelict, but when we see the full scale mock up of the Jupiter 2, that's the bottom of the Jupiter 2.
Really? Wow.
Yes, and we will see it again, obviously.
Oh yeah, the spaceship is from the Space Pirate episode.
Yes,
Sky
it is.
Pirate.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's the one.
right. And this is okay. So Dr. Smith and Will come upon this, I guess you could say, a camp, and they see, of course, and then they're confronted with these two watchdogs. Like Jill said, they're beautiful. I'm a dog lover, so yeah, these wonderful looking German shepherds. And the noise gets the attention of the trader who emerges from his ship. Who I'm getting now. Remember, now this ship is supposedly like the TARDIS. It's unlimited in size on the inside, or he was just standing behind the curtain. And at first, and here's what we've mentioned before, where they don't mention this very often on Star Trek, but they do mention how does he know English, or he doesn't know English at first, so he puts on that skull cap, which, as we saw, was the wish machine in an earlier episode. I know I shouldn't be pointing out these props because we're going to see them again and again and again. But yeah, that was in the episode where they had the wish machine, and Dr. Smith wished too much until he got a servant, and that turned out wrong.
Wish upon a star. Yes.
Yes,
Right.
thank you.
Now it's a language translation device instead of a replicator.
Yes,
I
exactly.
like how they call it a duplicator instead of a translator, though. That was kind of interesting.
Oh, I think it's because that he doesn't have to constantly use the machine in order to translate. He just puts it on, and then he has the language. The languages. He's learned
Yeah.
it forever.
Did
I get.
anybody else think
Yeah.
that was a dunce cap?
Kind of looks a little bit like one, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but I could tell. I was looking at that, I was just laughing because you could tell it's just like a regular metal bolt that I got in my thing there.
Yeah, I guess it just basically changed his brain waves so he can understand English now, right? Is what I'm guessing.
And of course, he's got that sly smile, saying, "I'm the trader." And and
Oh yeah.
I've been to swap meets and fairs and everything else, and this plays true that you never know what to trust. They'll always have that smiling face, but you don't know what's underneath. In fact, I'm gonna make this fast. You guys remember VHS tapes and VCRs, right? I was at a swap meet where people were selling used items, and this guy sold me it was a VCR, and I remember it was $65. I bought it, got home, and it was empty. There was no guts. It was just an empty box. And I was like, I
Wow.
couldn't believe I didn't look inside the little flap and notice before I took it home. So lo and behold, about 3 or 4 months later, we packed up our truck. We had a truck, and we took it to the swap meet to sell items, and I took that with me. But I held it. I didn't sell it to anybody. I didn't want. I wasn't going to do the same thing that guy did. He was a regular at that swap meet. He was there every week. So I held that VCR inside the truck, and then when I saw him coming down the aisle, I put it out there with a $65 price tag on it. He bought it. So yeah, there. Justice is sweet, even though it takes a long time. But yeah, the same guy who suckered me into buying it bought it back, and I'll
That's
never
excellent.
forget that.
Great story.
That's awesome. That's pro revenge right there.
Well, you think he will learned his lesson from him doing it himself.
Hey, he said, well, I should have marked it up like $85, another 20 or something like that, just for my troubles.
Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah. Oh
So we have
gosh.
Dr. Smith decides to play with the merchandise. Well, the trader doesn't invite him to. So he has these balls here, the silicon spheres, that apparently has some sort of button on top. And the trader invites Dr. Smith to push the button, which makes him immediately disappear. Now remember, he didn't transport anywhere, he's just invisible. So Will is sort of confused and amazed at the same time. The trader is laughing. and he just tells Dr. Smith to squeeze the ball, and he will reappear, which is what happened. And now this is the part where this is kind of, I guess, a hole in the plot, because he explains to them two exactly what this device is, and he tells them he controls the weather with it. And right there, they should put the connection. Well, that's funny. We just had the storm last night. I wonder. And then
Well,
apparently,
Instead, they're just like, I wish we would have had this earlier.
I know, what a coincidence. On the
Yeah,
next day.
exactly. Yeah. That's just one thing I want to mention is I can see Smith being, an idiot like he usually is and not cluing in. But I'm surprised that Will didn't figure it out like real quick, right?
Uh-huh.
But he doesn't, of
Well,
course.
nobody did because, of course, Will's going to tell his family, so nobody else figures it out either.
Yeah.
Unless he kept it himself.
I'm actually
Yeah,
surprised the space trader even told them that. Like, he's taken a bit of a chance there, really, that they might have figured out what was actually
Right.
happening.
If I would have been in the charge of the script, of course, it's all woulda, shoulda, coulda. I would have said, "Oh, that old thing that doesn't work." I would not have told him what it was.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Right? He could have said it when they were not there, like basically talking to himself in front of the camera. Like after they leave, say, "Well, it's a good thing I have this, weather control device." But right, to tell them to their face, and then no one realizes it, and then when they go back and tell the Robinsons about him, they don't mention it. I hate to get. I'm not sorry to get ahead of ourselves, but
It
all that was
seems like
going through my mind. I'm like,
No,
okay.
I do that all the time. It's really good. It's
It
really good
seems
for
like
the show, I think.
it does seem like a strange scene, though. I got to agree with you guys. It's like when I saw it, I was like, "What?"
Yeah. I think everybody had the same reaction. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought Will was going to say something that it was going to start like a big old fight.
Yeah, I totally thought Will would at least clue in and tell the family, right? But nope.
Oh, it's not until later that that it is revealed. And finally, at least the robot was paying attention.
Eventually, yeah.
Yes. So Dr. Smith mentions that their food supply and water was completely destroyed, and the trader mentions that he has lots of food, all different kinds, and he even knows he knows what chocolate is and everything else. So I thought that was okay. He's very familiar with Earth food. So not only does he know the language, he knows Earth food.
I'm thinking chocolate is a universal thing.
Well, supposedly, and then, yeah, right. That's what we're assuming, that it's not native to Earth.
Chocolate is a very serious business.
Right, and and for anybody who goes to space, I'd be going crazy. The two things, if I ever go to space or on a deserted island, that I have to have is Mexican food and chocolate.
Yeah. No, like in Babylon 5, they make Chikar makes a reference there to. No way, Lando made a reference to Veer there. That of all the cultures, he's met many aliens and many cultures there, and every single one has some form of Swedish meatballs.
He says Swedish.
Yeah, the Swedish meatballs.
What that is terrible writing. Horrible
No,
writing.
it made sense in the time because he was eating.
No, my
Swedish
question: are they from Earth? That's my question.
No, he was Centauri, but he was eating Swedish meatballs at the time.
Yeah, but is anybody on that show from Earth? Is my question.
Yes, there's all the station personnel are Earth.
Oh, all right, gotcha. Sorry, I thought they were all aliens.
No, but Malari, he is Centauri, but he is eating Earth food.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just thought they were just totally alien, and they bring up Swedish meatballs, right? So
no,
now that you put it into context, it makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it totally made sense.
Perhaps the station had an IKEA franchise or something, guys.
Or he might have just said meatballs, and I remembered Swedish he was eating Swedish meatballs at the time too. It's been a couple seasons.
Well, if there's people there that are from Earth, then it's understandable, because I know like Deep Space Nine mentions baseball. No, that's understandable.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there's no problem with that.
Fan, right? So
right. Star Trek mentions, TOS mentions Shakespeare, and many other references. So that's all totally fine. It's just that if it's an alien race like in Star Wars, I don't want them. I want them mentioning specific things that are here.
Oh, I think
unfortunately Star Wars doesn't do that.
Yeah,
maybe it was. Yeah, I'm probably misremembering the scene. That's all.
One at a time, guys.
All right. I was probably misremembering the scene. Maybe it's telling Veer that they were Swedish meatballs, and that all throughout all the cultures and all the aliens he met, every single one had some form of it. This is why it was.
Gotcha. I just want to mention quickly before Jill advances it here, the the subtitles here: hamburgers made from dehydrated green beans. This is like, well, how much? 40, 50 years ahead
Impossible
of his
Burgers.
time.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
exactly
Burgers.
what PvP. That's exactly why I paused it here, because I wanted to mention that this episode predicts veggie burgers.
It
Give me a
does.
real burger or give
Exactly.
me death. Give me a
Oh,
real
yeah.
burger or give me death.
Yeah.
Well, same
it's like-
thing.
Yeah.
Well, they tried selling those things at some of the fast food restaurants around here a few years ago, and it pretty much bombed, and they don't
Yeah.
even bother anymore.
Same in the U.S. Yeah, and not
Yeah.
only that, the mistake they made was they charged extra and more than a regular beef patty. What's the point?
Yeah.
Well, that's
and Boomer
really dumb.
said,
Yeah.
says Spoo is good. All right.
And Dr. Smith is not happy with these protein pills, and his imagination doesn't seem to stretch enough to imagine that they are food.
And welcome,
And that's
Edge of Time.
Hello, Edge of Time. Good to see you there. Thank you for joining us.
All right,
Hello,
time.
Edge of Time.
And Professor Robinson, of course, even though he has not met the traitor, he knows that something's not completely legitimate. So that's why he says to Dr. Smith, "I suppose you would like to prefer to be living off the fat of the traitor." Because anybody knows that nothing's for free, and if this guy is a traitor, Trader, by the way, then he's going to want something. He's not going to want something for nothing, and he's there obviously to profit. So he's not going to be trading things at equal value. So as they're talking about food, what do you know? He appears to entice them,
Well,
and he's offering them.
I wonder,
Go ahead.
has he been there listening to them with his little invisibility abilities? Like I'm sure he has. Like maybe he's been listening into
Well,
the conversation.
He doesn't have that spear in his hand, but he could have been hiding behind a rock.
But he does seem to have some kind of magical powers. I mean, it's just conjecture on my
I
part.
just thought he teleported. Because we've seen that before this episode.
That makes more sense, I guess. Actually, Gorilla. Yeah.
Everybody teleports on Lost in Space, right?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Except for the Robinsons themselves.
Except for the Robinsons, sadly. Yes.
You know what I like about this scene, though, guys, is that the Robinson family have figured this guy out like pretty much instantly. They know he's basically a crook. They know he's basically not trustworthy in any way at all. They know he's basically only out for his own gains, and he's going to trick people into a bad deal that's going to put them at a disadvantage. So they're all like, no, we're not going to deal with you, man. And Smith, of course, is the only idiot at the table who would rather sell his soul to eat a turkey than have any common sense, right?
Well, right, and that's also the trader knows what he's doing. That's why he knows they're hungry, so he pops that big old delicious, scrumptious turkey right in front of their faces, because he knows that's going to be unbearable.
Well, while it is dumb for Dr. Smith to do that, the thing is that Dr. Smith very much lives in the now, and he doesn't think about the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I think there's one point in the episode where Dr. Smith mentions common sense, and I'm thinking, you don't have any common sense, Smith.
He wants instant gratification.
Well, yeah, and not only that though, but all this is for himself. He's not offering for him and the Robinsons; it's for himself.
Yeah, he hides it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Which is another great scene that will be coming up. See, this would have been the point where he could have spoken to the camera and said, "This wonderful weather machine, good thing I have it, whatever." So that would have been a good giveaway for the audience. In my opinion, if I would have had that in the script, I would have added that. And just as he mentions that, of course, he triggers another storm for the Robinsons. I guess that'll teach them a lesson for not accepting his offer. First, I'll give them a little food, just enough to whet their appetites, he says.
Yeah, he's actually a very evil character, Pop. Like, I think of all the season 1 episodes we cover so far, this guy's got to be the nastiest piece of work. Because we've had monsters, we've had aliens that didn't understand, the human culture, but I don't think we've ever had a guy that's as nasty as this guy. Like, he's really malevolent, basically.
No.
Right, and you notice too, it reflects in the lighting and the timing. Now, you notice that during that whole scene, it was nighttime, and the way everything was lit made him look much more devious and dark. There was a lot of shadows. And then now that it's daytime, he's cheerful and light and like a nice man once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very two-faced for sure.
Yeah, and now we know what that he's really after. He wants a human there. He specifically wants Dr. Smith. Now, I really wanted to be able to send want to get their address there so I could send them this little known book called The Art of the Deal. They could have solved 2 problems with 1 stone. They could have made a deal to have him take him back to Earth, and then he could have Dr. Smith.
Yeah, that's a good deal. I'd say that'd be a good trade for the
Except
Robinsons.
Gorilla, they're willing to risk their lives in a storm to help Smith save a stupid piece of artwork. So why do you think they're going to actually trade him away like
Right.
that?
And how are they going to get there? Are they all going to cram up inside that shower curtain or behind the shower curtain?
Yeah, well, if
There's that
if
problem
they
too.
can-
Well, they'll
they
ferry
can.
them back and forth.
yeah, with
They-
logic, you think the Robinson would be happy to get rid of Smith and say, "Hey, traitor, take him, we're done." But of course, the show has to continue. So I get it.
John got outvoted by the kids.
Right, and I thought it was funny too because we've seen previous episodes like the episode with Michael Rennie where he wanted the kids as
Right.
exhibits in his right.
Right.
And so that obviously they're not going to keep rehashing that over and over. So now, amazingly and dumbfoundedly, I don't know why, but he wants Dr. Smith of all people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
usually-
he wants.
yeah.
Mhm. Won't even
That-
deal with the children, let alone he won't kidnap them either.
Right.
Yeah,
he
he
does
was-
have certain standards. He won't buy pennies. Well, like when he mentions when Penny and Dr. Smith, we haven't. Yeah, we do. Right here we go. Penny and Dr. Smith, when they bring up her tape recorder,
Yeah.
and and he mentions that he does not trade with children. Now, is that true, or is he saying that because his ultimate prize is Dr. Smith?
Well, I
So
think
that we
he
don't
knows-
know.
I think he's thinking the tape recorder has little value, like for resale. He wants a human, right? Basically, is his motive.
Right. He can probably get a tape recorder anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, it's like going to the store. You know where you're going to the store for. He's coming to this planet for Earthling, and that's it.
Yes, I agree. And instead, as a consolation prize, he does offer this candy cane to Penny.
It's kind of like it reminds me of an everlasting gobstopper. but
Exactly.
Except
And-
that
and-
it changes flavor.
Right, and this was 6 years before Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That was 1971.
I remember
there-
those
if you're wondering
everlasting
who said it first.
gobstoppers. Those things hurt the mouth
Well,
because
when was the book made?
It hurt the mouth.
yeah, well, I had those. No, you sit there and suck on them. They just they're way too big for the mouth. Not. If anybody wants to clip that, go for it.
Well,
Well, I don't know if they still sell them, but they used to sell these really big jawbreakers.
I remember
Yeah, that's
those.
that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, I remember those. I never got into those though. They really were too big as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I was more into chewables like gum and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Boomer here is a B5 fan. Well, if I'd known that, I made sure to let you know a while ago when we were still early into Babylon 5 there. We're
be
almost
right
done
back.
with
I
five.
need to help.
All right.
Then we're going to the movies on Saturday. All right, we're all caught up on chat.
Okay, I wanted to mention too. It's a shame. Well, I'll mention it later, but what I'm doing, I'm going through some behind the scenes trivia, but I'm trying to keep it with what we've seen so far. Nathan Juran, the director, like I said, him and Torrin Thatcher, who plays the traitor, were great friends. So not only did these two collaborate on the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, but they also collaborated on Jack the Giant Killer from 1962, and later in To Slay a Giant, 1969, and then once again Nightmare in 1970. Perhaps not coincidentally, Thatcher's physical appearance as a space trader bears an uncanny resemblance to his Pendragon in Jack the Giant Killer. Yeah, because you'll recognize, like PvP mentioned, that he was in Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and he looks exactly the same. He plays basically the same character, but I'm not knocking it. I mean, he does a great job as the bad guy, that sinister look. So yeah, the fact that if you're a fan of any of those, or a fan of this, or hopefully this will entice you to watch some of those other things that those two collaborated on.
Yeah, I should do that one of these days. Actually, I never really thought about watching his other films, but he is a very good actor for sure.
He is, and not only that, but he was also a good friend and favorite guest star of Irwin Allen. So because of that, he also appeared in The Secret of the Lock, 1965, Crack of Doom, 66. Ooh, yeah, and he also played in Return of the Archons. That's the one from. What did I miss this? But yes, he also played in Land of the Giants, and that's where I drew a blank. I apologize. Land of the Giants, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Time Tunnel, and some of the other Irwin Allen shows. So they knew they had a hot commodity when they hired him.
So he was basically in pretty much all of Irwin Allen's 60s shows. Then it sounds like 60s,
Yes,
70s shows.
yes, villain for hire, I guess you could say.
Well, he was just a good actor. Like I don't blame Irwin for wanting him on his shows because he always was good. Anytime I ever saw anything he did.
Right, and you'll notice in this episode he's limping. That was obviously because this is the '60s, so that was a war wound from World War II.
Oh, I did not notice that. I did not notice
Yes,
that.
yeah, I'm going to cover it. There's something I want to share, but I'm waiting for Jill to come back before I share it. But I'm going to cover this really quick. Bear with me just a moment, everyone. I'm going to give you a very short biography of Torrin Hatcher. He
Cool.
was associated with gritty, flashy film villainy. Veteran character actor Torrin Hatcher Torrin Herbert Erskine Thatcher was born in Bombay, India, to British parents on January 15, 1905. The son of a police officer who died when Torrin was 10 and a voice piano teacher, he was educated in England at the Bedford School and the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. A former school teacher, he appeared on the London stage, notably the Old Vic, in 1927 before entering British films in 1934. He would be notable for his stage prowess in the works of Shaw, Shakespeare, and the Greek tragedies. Among his earlier stage plays was a 1937 version of Hamlet, which starred Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh. During World War II, he served with the Royal Artillery and achieved the rank of lieutenant colonel. He was an extremely imposing, powerfully built specimen, and it offered him a number of tough, commanding, often sinister roles over the years, primarily in larger than life action sequences. He did a lot of movies that I mentioned earlier. As far as Hollywood, Sabotage 1936, Dark Journey 37, Night Train to Munich 1940, Major Barbara 41, and a handful of others. I'm not going to read them all because it's extensive. In Hollywood, from the 50s on, is when he tended to gravitate and start doing a lot of television. So he still did movies at the time, but eventually, by the time it rolled into the 60s, is when he majored mostly in television, I guess you could say. He was also in the famous movie The Miracle Worker with Anne Bancroft and Patty Duke.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that was a pretty common thing for a lot of really good movie actors to transition into TV once TV started to come in the late 50s, early 60s, and it started to take business away from the cinemas. So there were a lot of actors that were getting a little bit older, not too old, but they transitioned because I think they realized that TV could be, giving them more of a bread and butter sort of, regular paycheck, right? So it was a pretty
Absolutely.
common thing. It was a pretty common thing, yeah, Pop.
Right, and if you're a character who plays a villain, what better than TV? Then you're going to have a lot of work.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Diagnosed with cancer, Thatcher died on March 4th, 1981, in Thousand Oaks, California.
Hmm.
The widower of TV actress Rita Daniel, he was long married to a second wife, Anne Lee Borney, at the time of his death.
Hmm.
So now I'm gonna let's see here. Is Jill back yet?
She's still away. Actually,
Okay, she'll be back.
I'm just gonna pop off for a minute too, Pop. I'll be right back.
All right, we will be right back, everybody. We are going to have a short intermission. How are we doing on the chat, Gorilla?
Caught up on the chat there.
Oh boy, you definitely caught me with my pants down,
Yeah.
so to speak. I really am wearing clothes, everybody, so don't get shocked too much.
I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
sitting. I'm sitting here in the beanbag chair, naked, eating Cheetos.
Okay. I'm very shy. Even if I'm by myself, which I am in my own room, I won't even take my shirt. I won't sit around without my shirt on. I don't know why. I know it's kind of foolish, but oh well.
Hey, my house is enter at your own risk.
Right. All right. Well, then that means let's see what I can find here in the book until Jill comes back. By the way, everybody, she's probably taking care of her
Hello.
kids.
I
There she
There we
did.
is.
I just took care of her.
Okay. By the way, the standards and practices, the so-called censors, read the outline for this episode, and they said this was an easy one for the CBS censors to say yes to. There were no horrifying monsters coming towards the camera, and the Robinson children, although hungry, were not otherwise threatened. However, there was one little thing that turned up in Slater's script that the network watchdogs took issue over. During the teaser, as Smith paints his masterpiece, the robot says, "I would like to express an opinion." Smith replies, "You have my permission." Slater then wrote, "From inside the robot, there is a sound which resembles someone regurgitating." Smith fails to get its meaning. He says, "If you have a comment to make, make it." The robot says, "I already have." Sam Taylor of CBS Program Practices wrote, "If the robot were to make a sound which resembles someone regurgitating, we feel this would be in poor taste and we request a change in the business." So that's why instead we get the sound which sounds like a raspberry. And something else I wanted to mention, I think would have been a nice, like I said, woulda, coulda, we had no way of changing the script. But I think a nice throwback would have been when they come into the camp in the first scene and he's pointing out all of his wares and things for sale. It would have been nice if they would have brought up the ship and Dr. Smith says, "Oh, we see you have a ship." Because obviously Dr. Smith is always looking for a way to get back to Earth. But it would have been nice if Dr. Smith would have pointed out the ship and said, "You have a spaceship." And it would have been great if the trader would have said, "Yes, I bought it from some man named Alonzo B. Tucker." But alas, they never added that to the script. But I think that would have been a nice throwback. Maybe a little too soon, considering we just saw Tucker in just a few previous episodes before this.
Who's Lonzo B. Tucker? Oh wait, that's that.
Space pirate,
Okay.
right? The one that had the same ship, except then it had a door on it. So apparently somewhere he lost the door, and now it's just a shower curtain.
Yeah, like that's gonna protect you from the vacuum of space.
Well, you can just make sure you hold it very tightly. So here we have Dr. Smith obviously wanting to make a deal for food. And he says, "Perhaps you'd be interested in something else." So, of course, he's going to try to make a deal, and he's only concerned about himself and his stomach at this point. And the trader says, "We have a wonderful vehicle." Oh, no, Dr. Smith, he's turning down all of Dr. Smith's offers. And then Dr. Smith, obviously, the first thing, he's willing to give up that magnificent chariot. So now we're seeing that he's definitely already gone into that territory where he should not, because the Robinsons would not be happy with that.
He's wildly short-sighted.
Absolutely. And these are things that obviously the Robinsons could not survive without, even their weather station. But I do have to mention they do have multiple weather stations. They'll establish that late. If they haven't already, they'll establish it later on in the show. So they have remote outposts that sends them data back to the Jupiter too. All the more reason they should have expected or been surprised by those surprise storms, I suppose.
And like
And
you
now,
said, he's not even getting food for everyone, just him.
right. So the trader offers food for a week, and they haggle back and forth. It starts with 2 weeks, and they get it down to, I believe, 12 days.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
And of course, like a typical, well, no, I can't use that word. No, I can't use that word. But let's just say a salesman. Yes, sir, your natural trader. So they always compliment the sucker. Always compliment the sucker, so the sucker thinks they get the upper hand. It's a very powerful tactic, and it works. I should have told that guy with the VCR, "Wonderful choice, wonderful. I can see you know your technology."
Yeah, I just love how the trader is constantly feeding Smith's ego in this episode, right?
It works every time.
It's pretty great writing, really.
And by the way, everybody, which this character is based on for the younger generation if they don't understand. And I'm going to say this out of all due respect, and no offense to anybody. This is no offense. I'm just explaining this out of history. But this character is based on gypsies because there used to be a long time legend where gypsies were nothing but like this guy, dishonest. I'm trying to be very careful. I don't want to insult anybody who are gypsies.
Oh, I
It's just
never would
back
have
then.
thought that.
Yes, but back then, I mean, people would say it every day,
Yeah.
but now it's a no, and it's not my personal belief. It's just an observation on my behalf. Is all. So no offense
Just
to anyone
so-
out there.
Just don't say what the term derives from.
Right, that's the furthest I'm going to delve into it. I don't want to offend anybody. So Dr. Smith makes the deal for the food for himself in trade for the robot. And now he goes back to try to ask the robot to go with him to see the trader. Robot won't have any of it. The robot, this is what we mentioned earlier, now he seems to be a little oversensitive. And apparently he's upset because Dr. Smith insulted him earlier. So what he does,
Yeah.
and this is actually very funny because he tells Dr. Smith, before I go with you, you need to apologize. And it's funny because Dr. Smith has a lot of difficulty in doing that. And of all people, to the robot.
Yeah,
He doesn't say
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just I apologize.
and
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Smith gives the same apology I used to give the ex.
Just as
It's
meaningful,
a
huh?
non-apology, but a robot. It's good enough for a robot.
Yes. And then the robot suddenly is like, okay, sure, yeah, you're right. It is, and indeed, not in those words, but it's a lovely night for a stroll. So the robot even comments on the lovely night, just like Dr. Smith
Well-
had previously said.
Well, we do know that Smith likes to insult the robot, but why? But I think in this episode, does he call the robot, say that the robot's getting a little fat? Because he says, you're getting a little
Yeah.
roly-poly standing
Yes.
up.
Yes,
Yes,
I didn't pick
rolly,
up.
roly poly was the phrase, I think, Jill. Yeah.
it was. Just another snide remark. Unfortunately, to that remark, the robot did not pick it up, though, and comment on it. But he was hinting to the robot that he was trying to get the robot to exercise so that he would follow him to the trader. So I'll explain to everybody what that was all about.
If the
So here
robot
we-
needs it, right?
Right, here we have the next day, and Will's wondering where's the robot. So he heads back to the trader's camp, and of course the trader is very happy and content. And Will walks in and says, "Oh, how are you, Mr. Robinson?" And there he is. Now Will realizes there's the robot with a for sale sign on him, and poor robot is not very happy about it because obviously, as we all know, the robot could easily break the chains on that ball.
Yeah,
But he knows that
exactly.
a deal is a deal, right? And he not a man of his honor, but he's a robot of his honor, and he knows that he was
Really?
traded.
Is that the reason?
That's what I'm guessing.
Because I was wondering that too. He could just blast away that little chain. That's nothing to him.
But I think that
Thanks.
he realizes that he is the property of them, and he has to do as he was told. Is what I'm guessing. If he blasted that ball, wouldn't that be independent thought? And wouldn't
Yeah,
that be against your owner? I mean, because Dr. Smith, in a way, is one of his owners. I don't know. It's
No,
a moral question.
but also they might have had like some kind of electric thing charged to him. So where if he was gonna go blast that ball, he could have gotten immobilized there through electrical charge or something.
Or he could have what they could have done is showed up because we all see where he does pull his power pack. So obviously that's going to discourage the robot from escaping. But it would have helped if the trader would have said, just in case you try to escape, I'm going to take your power pack. So that would have helped kind of, explain that a little bit more.
I'm actually
he's in-
surprised. I'm
Go
actually
ahead.
surprised. I'm surprised the trader didn't remove his power pack as soon as he got the robot from Smith. Actually,
Well, we didn't see that. Remember, that was off camera when Will took him to the
Yeah.
trader the night before.
true enough.
So it
yeah.
could have been, right? They could have had that discussion the night before. And Dr. Smith could have, for that matter, even could have told the robot, you stay here. You're now his property, right?
That's probably what happened off camera. I'm guessing. Yeah.
Off camera, right? Not part of the script, obviously. Of course, we all know they've got to squeeze this in less than an hour.
Mm.
And of course, the robot says, "I'm sorry," and apologizes. And Will says, "There's no need to be sorry." And he says, "Dad will take care of this," meaning Professor Robinson. And here's where he says it again. He goes, sooner you'd not speak to the robot." And he pulls the power pack again. "You're wasting his power pack. I'll be back." That's another thing too. Is the robot able to recharge himself? Whatever it is, he recharges himself, which I think is at base station on the lower level of the Jupiter 2, where we saw him in the pilot. I'm guessing that's where he plugs himself, or wireless charging. I'm guessing that's where he hooks up himself to recharge. And without that base station, the power pack, I mean, he has that power pack, but it's not recharging him. He still loses energy when he's when he's away from the Jupiter too long. But
Actually,
that's
yeah. Now that you mention it, Pop, I hadn't thought about that, but that's a major plot hole, really, because I mean, what good is the robot going to be to the space trader once he sells him? Because if the robot can't regenerate his power, he's not going to be much good to anybody who buys him, right?
correct.
Well, then the bigger plot hole is how's the Jupiter 2 still powered?
Well, no, but remember that's powered by fuel, and they have mentioned solar arrays. So I'm
Oh,
guessing as long as they're not in space flying, I'm guessing right like all the ships, I guess, not artificial gravity, but the lights and all the main operating systems are done with solar. Is what I'm guessing. I don't know. And then only when they're flying is when they need fuel, which they're supposedly digging for and rationing. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's what I take from it. But they do mention solar arrays. I think that's what they call them on the show. So here we have later on in Jupiter 2 that night, and the red set. I just can't believe that he'd do such a terrible thing. Of course, everyone's upset.
Really, Maureen, you don't believe that he could do this? That he would sell the robot for food?
Right. And you like they don't know Dr. Smith yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But you would think you'd get something better.
Maureen's an
Right.
Maureen's a turtler. What's the term? Pollyanna. Like she's always an optimist, even if it
Yes.
doesn't make any sense.
I would have thought
But
that'd
she
be
gets
more.
upset. She does get upset.
I thought that'd be more Judy being the optimistic. She's the one always defending Dr. Smith.
Yeah, but her and Maureen, though, there are points where they do get upset. And we've seen Maureen tell him off more than once. So don't forget, guys. She's like nice all the time, but she does has she only to a certain point. Like I said, just don't forget about the episode where Dr. Smith dismantled all their guns. I mean, she really let him have it.
Right.
So, and they don't say the words, but you could tell they're all sad about the robot, not like as a piece of equipment, but you could tell that it's already become a member of the family to them. It's unspoken, but obviously by their reactions, you can tell that's what it is. So I think it's more of the loss of a good friend and/or / family member than it is a piece of equipment, which is how they refer to him the first few episodes.
Yeah. Oh, Sean here makes a good point.
Go ahead.
He says, well, the ship is designed for colonization, so it makes sense that it would have a means of generating power and recharging beat of 9.
Yes. And especially they're assuming that wherever they are, there's going to be a source of energy, a sun somewhere, right? Or something way of putting off energy for their solar arrays. And this is actually, it's too bad we can't show the video, but it's hilarious because total Dr. Smith, just like Dr. Smith, has his mind on something else. He walks in all cheerful and then he sees all them with the food, and the look on his face is excellent. It's a treasure. You've got to watch this episode. It's a very funny scene. I laughed out loud, and his mood immediately changes, and he knows that he's been caught. Dr. Smith, you shouldn't have hid the food up there on the bridge. You should have hid it in your quarters. But this makes more sense for the plot, right?
You could have probably gotten away with it. Like I was actually surprised I didn't get hit with on Friday. There, I was sitting there waiting for it. Heck, I was waiting for something for YouTube. There, I was gonna go way off the rails on that Walton's review.
So here we have Will. Will's still very disappointed and he's depressed because, as we all know, the robot's Will's best friend. And Dr. Smith, basically everyone's ignoring Dr. Smith. Nobody's talking to him. So he's starting to feel lonely. He figures if one person will talk to him, it'll be Will. And he tries to spark up conversation. Will tells him, straight up that I'm not talking to you. And then now Dr. Smith realizes what he's done, and he doesn't apologize, but he asks Will, what if he brings back the robot? And so basically, that's what we have now. Is now Dr. Smith? Remember, now he's very good at manipulating things. So he figures he's going to try to play that trick on the trader. So he goes back and he notice how they got the robot all dusty. I like that because it looks like it hasn't been cleaned, because Will and or Dr. Smith are always taking care of that robot to make sure it's nice and clean. So I like the fact that they added the layer of dust to it to show that it's just been sitting there turned off.
Yeah, it's a nice detail, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now, because it makes it look like, well, now the robot is just part of the collection.
Mm.
So, and look at that slide. Look, I'm glad Jill got this specific slide, because Dr. Smith can barely say this with a straight face when he says the robot is his friend, and at the same time, he's watching over the trader to watch his reaction to see if his chicanery is successful or not.
Oh, it's
so
great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent look.
You know what I love too is earlier, before Smith trades the robot to the space trader, he's like, "Oh, he's like a brother to me. He's like such a good friend." And it's like, okay, so you're gonna exchange your brother and your best friend for 12 days worth of food. It's like that tells you everything you need to know about Smith's character, really.
Absolutely. And I've got a topic here I want to bring up that we were just talking about. This is from the book. The first half of the script, Wilson, who wrote the scene in which the Robinsons, West, and Smith sit around the dining room table and are given protein pills to eat. He also added the business with the electric signpost leading to the trader's store and the idea of having the trader speak in an alien language when we first meet him, then using the translator, quote, thinking cap unit, and presto, acquiring the English language. In the original script, the second half of the script constituted very nearly a complete rewrite. So they completely rewrote the second half. As to later, the original writer had left it, the robot was only in the possession of the trader for a short while before running away and returning to the Jupiter 2 camp. So in the original script, he did escape. In Slater's version, the Robinson and West discover that Smith has acquired food from the trader, but believe his story about trading labor for the food. At no time does Smith tell them that he traded the robot, nor does the robot reveal this to the Robinsons or West after returning. In fact, Slater wrote scenes in which Smith shared his food with the others. After a feast, Don says, "I ate too much. Much as I hate to admit it, for once I was wrong about Smith." Robinson asks, "Think we should apologize?" Don replies, "In my contented condition, I am at peace with the universe, Smith included." So that was fortunately excised from the script. Do you guys think that it was good that it was not that way, or do you think it was an improvement or not? What do you guys think?
You cannot admit that Dr. Smith's right. He is always wrong. You gotta always hate him. Gotta always hate him.
Well, not only that, but I think if the Robinsons would have been eating the food, I think it would have cast them in a different light. I think it's better, in my opinion, that they didn't touch the food at all, almost like it was poisonous. We all saw the box of canned food and the grapes and everything, but they all decided not to touch it because it was ill-gotten goods. And in my opinion, I think that was better that way. I'm glad they did not show them eating the food.
Oh,
that would have been worse.
That would have been awful, I think, personally. Like, I mean, because earlier in the episode, they figured out that the space trader pretty much early in the episode was a con man trying to take advantage of them, right? So that's why they wouldn't trade with him. And to have them eating the food, and to Dawn say something about he's so content, like he's like all of a sudden, feeling positive towards Smith. That would have made absolutely zero sense to all
right,
this come before it, right?
Yeah, it makes no sense with the character.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very glad they didn't. I'm glad they got rid of that scene. That would have been really bad, as far as I'm thinking. Yeah.
There are no scenes in the original script which the family stops talking to Smith, thereby prompting him to feel ostracized and attempt to retrieve the robot. In Slater's original script, Smith does return to the trader, but only to tell him that the robot will not return and there's nothing that he can do about it. The trader then decides that he will take an Earthling in exchange for the robot, and has Smith place his hand on the contract. Smith is pressured into doing it. Unlike in Wilson's rewrite and the filmed episode, the trader does not con Smith into doing this, and there is no discussion of the trader waiting 200 years before collecting on the contract. Nor does he use the contract to cast a spell over Smith and force him to return. And I'm going to save what's after for later on.
So that's where he makes a deal for. That's where he's making that deal.
Yes, this is where we now, of course, now remember, Dr. Smith is trying to act like the robot's best friend all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So Dr. Smith unknowingly is making a deal with the trader, and only the trader knows that Dr. Smith, the second time, brings up credit. And the trader mentions that's not good for business. As we all know, that is true.
Yeah, he didn't teach him about interest.
Right. Well, exactly. And not only that, collateral. Because he does ask Dr. Smith, what do you have to offer? And he says, all I have is what you see before me. Yeah. And anybody giving you a loan would say, well, sorry, see you later.
Well, you know what I thought when I seen that 200 years deal?
What's that?
It's a trap!
Yes, me too. Hey, that was useful twice. Good job.
Yeah, I agree.
Here, the contract is null and void because he's being forced to put his hand down. He didn't.
He is pressing on it.
Put it down. He didn't put his hand down of his own volition. He was thinking about it, but then the choice was made for him.
Well, and later the trader mentions, didn't you read the fine print? It's like, what, fingerprint?
Well, that's what gets me is I see the text here, and it's all written in that weird alien language. It's like he says you should have read the fine print. Well, how could you read the fine print when it's in some decipherable, alien text? Like, it's like, how could Smith read it, right?
Yeah, he couldn't. Yes. Exactly.
Right, but he didn't care.
Not without the language duplicator.
Converter or duplicator, right? Right, and he could have said that. He goes, can I use that language converter so I can read the fine print? But of course, being Dr. Smith, and like a lot of people, they don't bother reading the fine print. They just say, where do I sign? Where do I sign, right? So he's so tempted for all that food and everything. That's all he cares about is where do I sign?
That reminds me a lot of a South Park episode.
Yes, it has to do with the centipede.
Yeah, the human centipede. Jill knows what I'm talking about.
I do. Yes, it is important. But a lot of times these terms of service or all of the things that you click on, you almost need to be a lawyer yourself in order to grasp everything that's going on in it.
Well, the thing is, too, if you're going to download some software or something, you look at the terms of service, and it take you like 8 years to read the damn thing, right? Because it's so long. So most people just click yes, and they don't even think about it.
And that was the whole point of the episode there.
Yeah, right. For me, that is the lesson that we'll get to.
That's why we have lawyers, unfortunately. So we have Dr. Smith signing the contract foolishly. But I'm sure he's beside himself because he's getting food for himself. And of course, the trader is chuckling because he knows that he's got the better half of the deal. And he says, here's the robot's power pack. Excuse me a second. The dogs, it's the food. Okay. So now he gets the power pack, and Dr. Smith is able to retrieve the robot. And as we see by the slight smile on the trader's face, that he's got hidden intentions. And the first thing Dr. Smith does is chastise the robot. He says, I'll tend to you later. And it's like, what'd the poor robot do? And of course, we have to have that cliffhanger for the commercial where the trader says, I will take possession very soon. And by the way, I don't know if you guys thought about this, but I thought this was great that the factor Bob May and the robot was able to catch that ball looking through that costume.
I did think about that. That was pretty cool.
It was. I'm sure that takes some practice, but I think it's magnificent.
Yeah. But Dr. Smith here will have to remember rule number 17. A contract is a contract is a contract. But
That's
only
right.
between
And always read the fine print.
And apparently, Scurvy here says, "Oh no, the cuttlefish."
Excuse me.
I don't know what you meant by cuttlefish.
Yes, you do. It's from the South Park episode.
Oh.
Cuttlefish or whatever the other choice was that wasn't as gross. Because he says, because when they're the human centipede, they say, what do you want me to eat? The chocolate pudding or the cuttlefish?"
Oh. I gotcha.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. But they're continuing on with the episode where Smith is realizing that he made a mistake in even putting his hand up to sign that contract because he never got to read it to see that the trader could collect on it at any moment. And he is doing so now. So now he believes, the trader believes that he owns Dr. Smith and he has a contract to back him up, not just with words or the law, but with science fiction, mind control.
Yes. So now he's come to claim his part of the deal, I guess you could say.
Someone will
And-
decide for this.
I'm not sure what that means. Happy, happy, joy, joy.
Jill, you're the math whiz here. You want to decide for this?
It says
Wow.
eggnog.
Meringue for.
Hold on, I gotta pause the slide so I'm not distracted.
Sorry.
Oh, Lemon Pie figured it out. Eggnog for fun and profit.
I think
Oh,
it's egg.
okay.
I think it's eggnog meringue for fun and profit. Actually, Jill.
There you
I
go.
thought I saw meringue in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think so.
I
So
think
the
that's what
trader-
tripped me up too, is the meringue.
So the trader has come to claim his part of the deal, unbeknownst to Dr. Smith, who was surprised because obviously he thought he was going to wait 200 years. And this
Yeah.
is, as we mentioned earlier, this is what the trader said, well, you should have read the fine print, which gives me the option of claiming my property at any time, and that time would be now.
There you go.
By the way, Torn Thatcher, the guy we're looking at right now, was 61 when he was cast as a trader.
He's 61.
He's
what's the
61 here.
I wouldn't have thought of him that old.
He looks really good for 61. I gotta say, actually.
He does, and he's definitely better than I'm younger than that, and he looks better than I do.
Well, I'm not too many years older than that, and I don't look anywhere near as good as that. I must say.
Yeah. He should have fired. Since he's in line of sight. He stole a spaceship.
Right, and by
Yeah,
the way,
Will has the gun there, but he doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, because that wouldn't be right. Think about it. Because that would make. Well, first of all, they're not. I don't know if they're going to show. That's the rifle and not the pistol. That would kill the man. And I don't know if they're going to.
Not to
Censors are going to
kill
allow.
him, but like to
Well-
do what the robot does later, which I won't say. I'll save that for later.
Right, but well, okay. So, is that an honorable thing to do? Because the guy does have a contract, and he's not threatening. He
Will
doesn't have a
doesn't
weapon in
know
his
it,
hand.
but it wasn't really gained with the decency, since he had to push his hand on it in order for the transaction to go through.
True, and as Jill kind of hinted at when she says, "Instead of what happens later." I have a comment about that in the book, but I'll wait till we cover that scene when we get there with Professor Robinson and Don. So here we have the trader comes into their camp, and obviously, as mentioned previously, he's there to collect on the is part of the bargain.
Yeah. Oh, Boomer here says,
Okay, I gotta go, Rick.
yeah. Boomer says, hey now, 61 is not that old.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's not. Like I said, I'm pretty much almost there. And what do they say? 61's the new 31.
I wish.
I know.
tell
Yeah.
tell that to my aching knees, Pop.
Right?
Yeah.
Till that's all the hot chicks in town, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I don't think I'm going to be getting any of them anytime soon. So,
I know.
Yeah. And Scurvy here says, eggnog mongering for fun and profit.
oh jeez,
Mongering, fish needs bicycle bad.
oh
Emphasizes
man,
mongering, fish needs bicycle badly. And
And
Boomer here says, I am way past 61.
welcome
you
to the
got
club, there, Phantom.
that's right. And I'm almost there. Now I want to mention here that Wilhelm Smith, his large cardboard quote lunchbox, that box kit manufactured by the Office of Civil Defense would have contained supplies for a backyard bomb shelter. Because, and of course, as we all know, in '66 there were hundreds of thousands of private one-family nuclear war bomb shelters in America,
Mm,
providing food, water, medical supplies, etc., with very long shelf lives was a serious industry. Because, as we know, that was when we were at Cold War with Russia, but we were almost at hot war with Cuba. This was during the Bay of Pigs era,
yep.
and so we were right. And a quick history without going too far off topic. Russians were supplying Cuba with arms. So that's why not only were we on the brink of war with Cuba, but as well with Russia at the time. It became very, very close. And it wasn't until the 1980s with Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev, the guy with the birthmark on his forehead. It wasn't until uh, them two got together, became friends, tore down the Berlin Wall, and the Cold War was over, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I remember that when I was at art school, so that was probably around 89, 90, something like that, when the Berlin Wall came down.
Yes.
And we all had I think it was in third year then at Emily Carr College of Art, and one of my buddies, down the little ways down had his his little area, and he had a black and white TV set up, right, which he'd watch at times, when he was doing his painting and stuff. And I'll never forget the day the Berlin Wall came down, because he wandered over to my stall, and he's like, "Hey man, you got to come and watch this. This is unreal." And so I wander over, and it's like we sat there probably for an hour watching like the East Germans and West Germans basically smashing the wall to pieces on live TV, and it was really, I mean, it was history. Like I'll never forget. I'm actually watching history, and it was pretty cool.
Yes, and Gorbachev and Reagan remained friends until Reagan passed away, and Gorbachev even attended the funeral.
Yeah.
Gorbachev,
Well,
yeah, Gorbachev seemed like a really good guy, actually.
I think
Well,
so. He was.
one of my coworkers said he was stationed in Germany along the Iron Curtain there, and they said like once a week or a couple times a week there, they'd have a person cross the Iron Curtain there, meet a Russian halfway in between in the no man's land there, and they would give the Russians their American cigarettes, and the Russians would give them Russian vodka.
Yeah, because the war is always, and it's still these days, the war is between governments. It's not between the people.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the saddest thing. Yeah.
Right, because people are the same all over. It's the governments that manipulate and use their population at will. That's the sad
Don't,
thing, right?
don't
Well,
forget.
hell,
I was just going to mention quickly. Don't forget that the East and West Germans had many families that were divided by that wall for decades, right? So
Yes.
that was
Uh-huh.
pretty nasty.
Yeah. no, here we got a couple chats here, and there's one relevant
All
to
right,
this.
and I think somehow the slides got rewound a little bit near the beginning.
Yeah. Jill says, or not Jill, Scurvy here says, not sure what edge of time is on, but I may want some.
I'll take some of that as long as it doesn't make me cough.
Yeah, and Scurvy says there was a Soviet nuclear sub near Cuba who nearly launched because he thought he was under attack and World War III had begun. Well, what the problem is, they were running on radio silence there, and they were running the blockade that was set up around Cuba, and the ship, I can't remember what ship it was.
Wasn't that
Dropped.
Crimson Tide the movie? Because they made a movie on it. Which one was it? Was it Crimson Tide? It was one of those.
I don't know, but he dropped some death. They were dropping death charges to force the submarine to come to the surface there. And
Oh,
the
really?
only reason that they did not launch, because normally they just need the command codes of the commander of the sub and the second or the first officer, but
Right.
there was a third guy on board who was some guy with the government. I can't remember what he was, like secretary, like their secretary of defense or something. He was high up in the government there, and because he was on board, they needed all his codes also. So it required 3 codes to launch the nukes from the sub. And he said the commander and the first officer both gave the approval, but the third guy said no, because he didn't want to be the one responsible in case this wasn't an attack. He didn't want to be responsible for wiping out a city if it was a mistake.
Yep. And that's not the only time it's happened in history. It's happened since then.
Well, that's the most famous one.
Well,
It's a good thing. It's a
Go
good
ahead.
thing one guy on the sub had enough brains to to wait and actually see what was going on.
Well, that's just like the lucky coincidences in history there. If it was any other sub, they would have launched it. They could have launched because they didn't have that guy aboard.
Well, there was a similar incident, and I believe late 80s or early 90s, where their version of NORAD went haywire and accidentally thought that we had launched our missiles.
Oh,
And it was
geez.
the same thing. It came down to one guy pushing the button, and he said, I'm not going to do it. I have a feeling it's a mistake. And they ordered him. They said, push it, push it. And he said, I'm not going to do it. And yeah, he became a hero. He became a national hero in Russia. So that was a good thing, too. So it's happened more than once, unfortunately.
Well, I'm pretty sure we've had that. Well, I think I remember hearing a story, or it could have just been made for things.
Well,
But I thought,
right here, yeah, I'm sure we've done it here, but they're not going to tell us.
no, but I thought I see a thing, or it could have just been a movie plot. But I thought it was based on a true story, where some guy was running a simulation. How would you react to if the Soviets launched Russia launched launched a boatload of nukes, over the North Pole, and he forgot to turn. He set it up on a Friday night to run it on Monday, but then he forgot about it.
Oh, you mean
Oh,
you forgot
God.
about that little thing? That?
Yeah, yeah. So here alarm bells were going off in the
I wonder what
NORAD
that is.
thinking that we're under attack. So and they got close to opening the missile silos there when all of a sudden he remembered that he had that program running.
So
Right.
you set your computer program to destroy the planet and you forget about it.
Well,
Good-
no, it was a drill.
job.
It was a drill. Yeah, also he was setting up a drill for like Monday.
Oh, okay.
All right, but back to the show, unless Jill's not back.
Jill's back, I think.
Yeah, I just got back right now. Oh, that I had to step away from my daughter, but that whole conversation reminded me of Dr. Strangelove, which I finally saw for the first time recently.
And
Great
your
movie.
opinion?
Great
I
movie,
loved
isn't it,
it.
Jill?
It was amazing.
And the great Slim
It was
Pickens.
funny.
Right.
All
So
right,
Slim Pickens is
and I
great in
love
that.
Slim Pickens was one of my favorite of all time character actors. That man was another one that could be serious. He could play a straight role. He could play a comedic role. He could also play a villain. So Slim
right,
Pickens, my hat's off to him from Hanford, California.
All right, I'll be right back.
There's no fighting in the war room.
Right. And also magnificent, of course, Peter Sellers. That's another
Peter
one who was
Sellers.
just absolute genius.
Brilliant actor. Absolutely brilliant actor. Yeah, I love Peter Sellers.
And yes, we were a little bit behind on the slides. We got back to around the middle of the episode.
No, we're not. We're totally fine with the slides. We're at
Okay.
the 30-minute mark here.
We must be getting we're over the halfway mark now.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
but remember let me check mine. Oh, hold on. It was my computer. Hold on. Somehow my computer got crossed.
Hey
Bear with
Jill,
me,
could
guys.
you go back to that last comment on the yeah. I thought this was hilarious when the trader is saying, I'll take you to the trade fair and trade you for a colossal profit. And I'm thinking, really? He thinks anybody's going to buy Smith for a colossal profit?
Well, somebody out there wants
That
an Earthling, and they don't care what Earthling. So, and
yeah,
then
Right.
whoever wants the Earthling has something that this guy really wants, but we never find out what that is.
I
And
gotta
he'll
say
keep the
though,
cage anyway, right?
anybody that would pay a colossal profit to obtain Smith is making a big mistake.
They don't know what they're getting. They just wanted an Earthling. That was their only requirement.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll have him as a pet or something, right, Jill?
Well, maybe the trader could have him on sale. That would be the ultimate indignity for Dr. Smith. He could be on sale.
Oh yeah,
There's a discount.
50% discount. Please take him off my hands. But I just thought that line was quite humorous, actually.
Did you need me to go back anyway? Since I don't know.
No,
when
I don't
No.
know. Maybe it was me, but I thought we were at the scene towards the end where Dr. Smith was surrounded by the sandbags, and the trader came to collect them. No. You're right. You're right. It's my computer that jumped back. So no, you're right. This
Yes,
is after
Amy?
that.
What?
So he
Amy?
lured. That's right. He lured
Oh, I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Smith back. No, that's okay. I missed the part where he lured Dr. Smith
I'm
back.
not
with the
calling
contract.
anybody on the panel, baby. I was talking to my child. I'll be right back.
Now I'm disappointed. Just kidding. So yes, my computer jumped back the timeline, so I missed the part where he lured Dr. Smith back with the contract, and now he's
Yeah,
explaining what he's going to do with him.
I think I did see that on my computer here, Pop. So yeah, it must have been your machine or something.
Yes.
I
Well,
just
did
want to mention while Joe's away, I just want to quickly mention these German Shepherd dogs are very, very well trained, were they not? Like, because they were vicious in some scenes and then they were just totally docile in other scenes.
Well, right, and like most, if you guys, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but usually whenever they have trained animals to react, they're often looking off camera, and you can tell they're looking at their trainer.
Yep.
They're never usually not making eye contact with, like Dr. Smith. They're supposed to be like threatening him, but they're not actually making contact with him. You can tell they're looking slightly off camera,
Yep.
obviously waiting for signals from the trainer.
Yeah, I'm guessing the trainer would have some kind of hand gestures to turn their aggression on and off, so to speak. So
Right, and so far from everything I've been able to put together in this book, Jill shows TOS in production order, not the order the episodes were aired. And I think, obviously, especially with the cliffhanger, we are seeing these in production order. So, for example, it says the production diary for this episode was filmed. It was filmed February 10th through the 18th of 1966. It took 6.5 days. Production began on Thursday, February 10th, 1966, on stage 11 for the exterior Jupiter 2 set with the fall of the water tower. Don Richardson needed approximately 3 hours in the morning to finish the challenge, last week's episode. Therefore, Nathan Juran wasn't able to begin filming the space trailer until 11:45 a.m. So they literally finished one episode and in the same day started the next one.
mhm.
As it was now customary, the teaser was filmed first, allowing the previous episode to have its cliffhanger added and be shipped off to the network. So they filmed the cliffhangers first, so as you can see, so they could attach it to the previous episode. This was an especially difficult day's work with wind machines blowing brush and leaves and sand, and then the water tower collapse and the rolling of the hollow drum. Stuntmen were needed as well as extra stand-ins for the wind sequences. Watch closely. Now we're referring to the previous scene where they had the storm at the beginning. Watch closely as the robot moves up the ramp. Oh, I had noticed this too, but it didn't show up on the slides. But when we're watching that first scene where they're trying to all rush inside to escape the storm, it says, watch closely as the robot moves up the ramp leading into the Jupiter 2. Pulled by cables, it begins to tilt backward, then starts to fall, just as the scene is cut.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was thinking, did it actually fall? Like I was always wondering about that.
I'm guessing they probably had stagehands right there ready to grab it.
Hope so.
Because,
Yeah.
Right, because first of all, I'm sure it would have injured Bob May, the actor inside, and I'm sure it
Yeah.
would have damaged the costume. Because
Oh,
when
yeah.
Jill, like it was brought up when Jill covered Forbidden Planet, that the actor inside Robbie got a little tipsy from drinking too much and almost fell over, and they fired him on the spot because of what would have done to Robbie's costume if he would have fell over.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, that
I
would have been
mean,
a big no-no.
yeah, the robot cost quite a few dollars to manufacture. So yeah, they would have
Several
had to have.
thousand.
Yeah, they would have had to have stagehands ready to grab them if anything bad happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Imagine poor Bob May inside was probably having a heart attack.
Oh, he would have been injured badly, I imagine. Like, yeah, that would not have felt very good.
No, and he's probably like thinking, guys, where are
Yeah,
you?
it's like, guys, come on, guys.
How
Oh boy,
are we doing on the chat, Gorilla?
I just got two here. Sean says, "This makes me want to watch War Games."
that's the
And
film I
Shall
think
we
you're
play
talking
a
about.
game?
and Boomer here says, "Hanford, south of Fresno, west of Vasilla."
Visalia. Yes, I'm from Fresno, so yeah, right in the middle there. I have friends in Hanford. Yeah, it's a very small town. And when I found out Slim Pickens was from Hanford, California, I was surprised because he had that really thick Southern accent. My whole life, I thought he was like from Texas or something like that, or Oklahoma or Tennessee, but nope, he was from Hanford, California.
That
So
is
all that was.
strange.
Go ahead.
That is strange that he has he has a very thick Southern accent though. So that's
Yes,
kind
he
of
did.
strange that he came from California. Actually, that seems really weird.
And also a bit of trivia: before he was an actor, he was a rodeo clown.
Actually, I
Yeah.
could see him as a rodeo clown somehow. Pop.
Yes, because if people were to say, would he be great around kids? I would say absolutely, absolutely. He was a very funny man, and that big, his face was just perfect for like to be a clown. All the expressions that he could do, I would say
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
and he had a great smile too. Like you could tell he was probably a really nice guy, right? You know.
Yeah, he's another one you could tell was obviously a nice guy in real life. I mean, some people you could just tell, some you can't, but you
Yeah.
could just tell he was very transparent.
Yeah.
And of course, here we have the trader, and he has his dogs again. And they're talking about the robot. They helped him escape. Here we are. This is the scene where I was messed up on, or mixed. And by the way, that hat Dr. Smith is wearing is from World War One. So I'm not sure why it would be a little more moderately, at least World War II, maybe.
It doesn't exactly look like a space helmet, I gotta say.
Right. Well, it actually did because that's what people used back then. No, not a space helmet. No, no. In fact, the only helmets we've seen established for space is where Professor Robinson had to do the spacewalk. Remember when he had to go outside the ship
Oh yeah,
and he had the jets on his arms.
that
So
was
if
like
I remember,
episode
I
one.
think
Episode
episode
one.
two.
Two.
Two?
Okay.
Well, one and two. It had the cliffhanger, right, where he went
Right.
out into space and then the rope snapped. And then episode two was about them getting him back into Jupiter too.
Right.
The
Yeah, I remember
derelict.
now.
And then that's
Yeah,
where they came across the derelict.
that's the one. Yeah.
If I hopefully I have all that in order.
Yeah.
No, I think
Boomer,
you do.
Boomer here says California, especially the San Ju. Oops.
San Joaquin Valley.
And
That's
here's
Oh.
what I was saying earlier, where the robot has finally shown that it was the traitor all along who was messing with the weather.
Well, let me ask you this, Jill. Wasn't it? It wasn't. I mean, how would the robot know? You would think, but it wasn't until the robot was in the trader's position that he saw the trader use the weather machine. But wasn't it while his power pack was unplugged?
Well, it had to have happened before that. Before
Possibly,
his
yeah.
power block was unplugged. Yes.
Yeah, because somehow he was able to witness it, and apparently the trader wasn't expecting him to tell the Robinsons what happened. And of course, he clarifies it. Make no mistake, he has a weather machine which controls the weather. So he even repeats it to let them know that it is true. And here's where of course, they bring up that the trader, they say not exactly an ethical practice. So there's, but the trader doesn't care because obviously he's probably been told this before, and he's used to be taking advantage of people. And look, we see Dr. Smith being very brave as usual, using Will as a human shield.
Basically, I was waiting to see who was going to be the hero.
Oh,
Well-
let's hold it right here, because I'm going to refer to the book. They describe what happened in the original script compared to what we see on screen. And if I don't lose it here, I had it. As Slater left in the original script, that is the original right, The robot does not save the day, but instead John and Don outcon the trader. Robinson says, "You just traded a lot of good food for a completely useless object. That's all. Just ask yourself one question. Why would anyone want Dr. Smith? He won't work. He's too lazy. He's always getting in trouble. And he'll eat you right out of business." The trader says, "I hadn't thought of that." Robinson adds, "Even if you do succeed in selling Smith off to someone, it won't be good for you. The buyer will find out you cheated him and demand a refund." Don injects, "If you've got a good business reputation, Smith will ruin it." Robinson ends up giving the trader a solar heating unit in exchange for Smith, and the trader contently leaves. It was all quite anticlimactic. But then when
Hey,
Wilson rewrote it, as documented in the Lost in Space show files, provide for much of what works in the latter half of the Space Trader. So that's why they rewrote it. They figured it was too anticlimactic.
I could see that being a very decent ending, though. Actually, that actually makes a lot of sense.
yeah. Well, what they could have done is trade him all kinds of different stuff if he promised to take it back to Earth. Go trade them all kinds of their old technology.
Well, yeah, they could, but I think they've learned by now not to trust anything he says.
I think it was definitely more dramatic, though, to have the robot, do what he did at the end here.
I agree. I know for me, for being a fan of the robot, I never grew tired of him blasting something.
Me too. I love
But
the
I would have,
lightning bolts.
yeah, I do love that the robot did it, but it would have been cooler if Don did it because then he would have something over Smith like, "I saved your life."
Oh, that's true. And Smith actually
That's
thanked
true.
him for it, maybe even,
Oh
or
yeah.
or
Wow.
unable to,
Wow.
or one of them say, "Don't you owe him a thanks, Dr. Smith?" And have Dr. Smith struggling with trying to say that.
Personally, though, I think if Smith had to actually ever
What they do.
apologize to Don and thank him, his head would probably explode.
That would be twice in one episode. We have to eat crow. He already had to apologize to the robot, I guess, right?
But I do like, basically, in this episode, the robot is the hero at the end, is he not? Like, that's what I think, anyway.
Definitely. And I
Yes,
agree with
agreed.
you. But even though they destroyed it, the trader interjects and says, "With or without the contract, he still belongs to me." And he gets ready to sick the dogs on them. "Fetch them, my pets." But the robot, of course, the robot is not going to threaten harmless animals. As we all know, it's a family show. But instead, the robot sends out a really loud screech sound, which frightens the dogs away. And of course, here's where the robot has got to put this in there too. And you receive more than you bargained for. I like that. I do like the way it ended. So now we have the next day. Oh goodness! I just realized I didn't get a chance to put the teaser together. Give me a moment, guys. Be
Oh,
right back.
Yeah. While we're doing that, there, Boomer here says California, especially up in the valley, was full of folks who came west to escape the Oklahoma Dust Bowl. Oh, cool. That's where they settled, huh? He says, "I grew up in LA suburbs with kids whose parents were from Oklahoma and Arkansas. I acquired the type of accent even though I was born in upstate New York."
interesting.
So you're from New York. And welcome, Spidey. Welcome. He says hello to Pop Culture and the panel. And he says hail to the... He's throwing hail at the chat.
Nice
Hey,
nice
Canadian
Spidey.
Spider-Man.
Now, what size hail he's throwing, I do not know.
There's one thing that bothered me about the ending, though, was early in the episode, I believe the trader does mention if the Robinsons mess with him, he'll like just destroy them. And I'm thinking, okay, when the robot, sends them off at the end here, it doesn't seem like the trader's got much power to destroy anybody, really. So I thought that was another bit of a plot loophole, so to speak. I don't know if you guys thought that, but I certainly did.
I didn't pay much mind to it.
I mean, I didn't have a major problem with it or anything, but I just remember early on, he said, if you, basically, try to go against me, I shall destroy you. And it's like he seemed pretty wimpy
he
at
didn't.
the end.
He didn't
Actually,
try. He didn't try any kind of destroying. He just sicked his dogs, and the dogs didn't work, so he ran off.
yeah,
He didn't.
but
He didn't try to use his weather machine again or anything. They didn't have to defeat
yeah,
the weather machine. He didn't start hopping around, being invisible with his ball.
exactly.
You
It
know,
seemed
you're
like
right. It
he
makes
gave
sense.
up. He gave up real too easily, I thought. But then it's like, okay, well, the episode's over, and I guess we got to go to next week. So that's 60s TV, I suppose, eh, Jill?
Yeah, exactly. But it still worked out. I had a good time.
I
But
still
we're
like
not
the
at the
episode.
reviews
Yeah,
yet.
it didn't ruin the episode. It's just like I thought that's a little inconsistent, but oh well. You guys realize we only got like 6 more episodes left of the season? Because I think there's 29 in total, if I remember correctly. So okay, Gorilla.
Oh, is this the crown? Is this the crown? The crown there?
Certainly
Oh
looks
yeah,
like one.
yeah. We're getting to the teaser for the episode,
Yeah.
and I didn't know if Pop Culture had anything to say about
Yeah.
the teaser, so I was waiting for him at this moment.
So there's a crown just sitting on a rock on a deserted planet there, huh?
Yep.
Full
know
of
what that is?
jewels.
You know what
It's
that is?
amazing.
Yeah, you know what it is?
It's a trap.
You're gonna have to save that clip for future episodes, girl.
Oh, it is saved onto here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Because that's so appropriate. Well, you know, isn't it interesting how so many episodes of Lost in Space have some alien artifact suddenly appear on the planet for no actual, rational reason, just so the episode can happen? Like, how many times have they done stuff like this? Probably, well, more than I haven't kept track, but quite often it seems. But that's okay. It's Lost in Space. It's not Star Trek. It's Lost in Space, so it's all fun.
In 2 seconds shouldn't get nothing nailed. So we're good on that. It's only 2 seconds.
I just want to say that crown is pretty ornate. Like it's almost way over the top, really.
Yeah, I seen that, and it's just like, yeah, something's gonna happen.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
All right.
Especially if Smith's involved with it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to remind everybody before we wrap it up, if you haven't already done so, please, if you so wish, vote in the chat. You'll see that I do have a poll up, and if you haven't already voted, please give us your opinion on either this episode or our review of this episode. They go from an A to F minus. Feel free to be totally honest. We enjoy all opinions. They're all welcome here. We do not like echo chambers. And also, if you haven't done so, if you enjoy the stream, please consider hitting the like button and perhaps subscribe to my channel. I think you'll find a lot of content on there that you'll be happy with, especially if you like classic TV. And we'll also be covering the panel's reviews and grades here shortly, too. So, once again, Dr. Smith does not learn. He sees an alien object, which is a crown, puts it on his head, and much to his surprise, we get... So, yes, he gets struck by lightning, but fortunately, I'm sure as we expect, he's not harmed. Because a normal person, that would definitely, I'm sure that would probably put you 6 feet under. And now we have our closing credits, of course, with our magnificent cast. Okay, and so, how are we doing on the chats, Gorilla?
Should be all caught up. Yeah, Boomer's just throwing hail at Spidey there.
Hello, Spidey. Good to see you there, sir.
Yeah, they're saying hi, and yeah, they're all saying hi. Yeah, now it's 2 against 1. Scurvy and Boomer both throwing hail back at Canadians.
All right. So with that, let me if I can come on my computer. Wait, move. There we go. So Gorilla, give us your opinion on this episode and tell us about your channel, please.
Oh no, like I said, I was having fun there. It's like everything I was thinking. It's like it's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. But nah, it's pretty interesting. It's just your kind of your standard. You got your scummy trader. You knew what he's kind of going after, but it was all enjoyable. I'll give it a B. I guess predictable, but still enjoyable. It's a enjoyable, predictable. Not much to say about it, really.
Very cool. What about your channel?
Let's see. I do multiple watch parties there. Wednesdays are Justified. Saturdays I do have Babylon 5. And then on Sundays it's our Cinema Sunday where we're starting Poltergeist there. Fridays is dedicated to Walton's reviews there. Then
Nice.
our next cringe stock will be Rockapussy.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gorilla. I appreciate that. And what say you, Jill? Tell us what you think about the episode and tell us about your channel.
Sure, I give this one a B plus because I think this one it's really endearing, even with the several kind of logical things that we went over during the episode that don't quite add up, but it has some really cool science fiction ideas, especially the mind controlling contract that's somehow connected to your handprint. I don't understand how that works, but it's kind of neat. And while most of these ideas that are thrown in there are not actually explored or used more than once, I was attracted to the idea of a traveling space merchant, and yes, you did already mention this, but I wondered if he was the inspiration for Harry Mudd. Like, I just don't know what Roddenberry made of the show, but it's eerie.
Very likely.
It's eerie, even down to the sentient robot and the human trafficking.
Right.
And I also really enjoy when the main title theme is integrated into the soundtrack like this. If you were listening to the episode, there were some moments where that happened. And I also enjoyed the lesson for children that it's very important to read the contracts that you sign, but unfortunately, it doesn't teach children not to take candy from strangers.
Totally
And
true. Yes, unfortunately. That is now even more dangerous and an even bigger no now than it was back in 1965.
yeah, exactly. And I have a channel. My name is Antiderivative Jill, and that is also my channel name. I like to celebrate science fiction, but sometimes I branch out and do other stuff. Tomorrow, I'm going to review the original series, Star Trek original series episode, The Ultimate Computer. So as soon as this is over, I am
Oh,
dashing to go watch that. I am so excited for
me
that.
too. Obviously in the top
I
episodes ever, yes.
Yes, in my top, definitely my favorite season 2 episode. So there you go. And on Friday, I'll probably watch a UFO episode or something because it's been a while. It's been a really eventful month for good reasons and bad reasons, sad reasons. But I need to get back to my uh, Friday review of UFO. So I'll be doing that on Friday and maybe a gaming stream soon. But I haven't really coordinated that yet or decided that.
Sounds good.
That's
And
all
we
for
will
me.
be there.
Thank you.
Oh no, thank you, Jill, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And we will be there, everybody. Please do check out Antiderivative Jill's channel. She's also, as I'm sure you could tell, a big Star Trek fan, like a lot of us. So yeah, check out the content on her channel. She's very worthy. She just passed 500 subs, and she's just recently monetized. So
Yeah,
good
thank
for her,
you.
and congratulations again. Yes.
You have all the criteria too. You need to get on it.
Oh, we can talk about that later. I know. I've got a slight hitch. I'll just put it that way. And
All right.
okay, here we go. I hope it's a slight hitch. I hope it's going to be easy to resolve. I'll put it that way. PvP, tell us about what do you think about this episode, and
Um,
about your channel if you'd like.
yeah, I'll start off with my rating first. When I first started watching this, I had mixed feelings about it. Like I really was uncertain for a while. as to what kind of rating I would give it. But by the end of the episode, I ended up giving it an A minus because I thought it was actually a really solid episode. And the reasons I gave it a rating that high were several. One, you know, um, the space trader was such an interesting character, and Torrin Thatcher's performance I thought was very, very good because he was. Let's put it this way: it's pretty hard to make Smith look almost honest by comparison, right? Because man, Space Trader, he was one really, greasy, untrustworthy kind of dude, right? I did not like him at all, but I did enjoy the performance, so that added a bit to the rating. I think my favorite part though was how the robot's personality finally in this one is starting to develop like into something really fun and interesting. So that's probably a big part of why I ended up giving it an A minus because I really like the robot in this one. And yeah, I just thought it was an entertaining episode. I mean, there are other ones I like a lot more, but I just thought this was a good one. So, maybe I rated it a bit high, but I thought, oh, what the heck? I'll be generous this week. So,
I
yeah,
don't know.
I enjoyed it.
Wait till you hear my review before you make that decision. Now, tell
Okay.
us about your channel if you'd like.
Yeah, just quickly, I'll just say it's rock and roll. It's lots of music. I'm still working on stuff behind the scenes that I haven't made public yet, but hopefully one of these years I will actually get around to making some of this stuff public. So yeah, but that's pretty much it, I guess. Actually, Pop. So
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And by the way, everybody, he is PvP on the panel, but his channel name is Pleasant Valley Picker. So you'll see that pop up in the chat every now and then. So that's the connection there. PvP is the same as Pleasant Valley Picker. And I appreciate your review. Now, I think I should, and I'll make this short and brief, everybody. I know it's getting late. But I also give this episode an A minus PvP, so no reason to feel guilty. And
oh,
for
that's
me,
good.
it's a lot of the same reasons. It's fantastic job by the character actor Torrin Thatcher, who played the evil bad guy. When I was a kid, I didn't realize his body of work and how talented he was and how far that his body's work, his resume stretched, as I mentioned, from the 30s all the way up to late 70s. But I give credit; he does a great job, and I can see why he was good friends with Nathan Jurin, the director, as well as Irwin Allen, and very deservedly so. And not only do we see the robot, his let's say his personality flowers a little more, but as we see, he's also starting to become self-conscious about himself. So when he's insulted, he takes it personally. So he's kind of gone beyond being a little more sentient, but it's actually he's taken on human characteristics. That's what made me think of the parallels with him and Data from Next Generation. Except I don't, in my opinion, this is my opinion strictly. I thought when Data did it, it was very much more cringeworthy. I thought it was just. Well, I don't want to. I know there's a lot of fans out there of TNG.
Well, I love Data's Dave. That's all I'm gonna say. Not necessarily the movie way that they showed it. Data's Dave is awesome.
Right. It was like in the movie they just tried too hard, and I think they were trying to be too funny at some points. But I don't know. Like I said, it rubbed me the wrong way. I'll put it that way. When he got his personality in the movie, like Jill said, it was okay. It was well done in the episode, but I just thought it was overhanded and way over the top for the movie, and it wasn't to my liking, I guess. I do remember I did watch all the TNG when it first came out, every single episode, and I do remember watching that episode, and I did like the ending. I remember laughing where it showed him dancing with a smile on his face, and I did like that ending. And like I said, it stands out in my memory. So A minus, great episode in my opinion. And once again, I appreciate the rewrites on the script. As I covered the differences between the original script and after the rewrites, what we ultimately get on screen. And that's why it's good that you have great minds working together. And I always appreciate where it's only a handful, one or two writers writing it rather than a committee. I know we've mentioned that before, but I don't think we'll ever see that again, unfortunately, especially now we've all heard that the writer's strike may be ending, which means they're going to get some of what they're bargaining for. They haven't released exactly what they agreed on yet because it's the writers and the actors need to vote on it pretty much. But once they vote on it and it's set, and then I'm sure they'll release it to the public, and then we'll all know what they agreed to and what they did not agree to, where the middle ground was that they decided to shake hands on. So, if you haven't already done so, my channel, tomorrow, and I really mean it this time sincerely, everybody. We really are going to cover Scanners tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific time. The fantastic movie. It's sci-fi / horror, a combination of both. And please join us if you're able to. If you check out my YouTube channel in the community tab, there should be a link there for you to watch it for free, so you don't have to go pay for it somewhere. If you don't have a streaming service, I don't know if it's on a streaming service or not. Honestly, I don't keep up with that. But it's a great movie, and we'll be here. We'll be covering that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific. And the following day, yes, we absolutely, once again, we are going to get back to covering Gilligan's Island for now. I'm still going to be, there might be some kinks, I don't know with that. And I mentioned it to Gorilla. We kind of covered this a few days ago behind the scenes. But as far as it stands right now, until I make a decision, we are going to continue with Gilligan's Island. We're on season 2. We're going to have 2 more episodes Wednesday evening. And then everything working out well, hopefully on Saturday, I'll do another Rumblings from the Lab. And that's always an open mic, open topic. You never know what we're going to talk about. But the point is, everyone's invited. And it's a great time. I think we'll have fun. They tend to run a little long sometimes, 4 or 5 hours. But I keep them going as long as the conversation keeps moving.
Yeah.
If we run out of things to talk about, I'm not going to keep the mic going just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure that it's entertaining.
Yeah. Apparently Pickles was here tonight. He said, thanks for the show tonight. Wish you would do an overnight show.
Oh, well, LDG, good to see you. And I hadn't thought about that. I guess I could always put a poll in the community tab and let people vote on it.
Well, LDG, if you lived in England, this would be an overnight show for you.
Yeah, it'd be night for us and day for them. But LDG, pray tell, this is like 3 hours later for you. I know you're over on the East Coast, so this is like going on midnight. Maybe you want something to lull into sleep. But I know that people used to do that. They would have 12 to 12 marathons, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word. And I thought about that. I think, to tell you the truth, everybody, I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but I think they were doing that to gain the watch hours in order to get monetized. I think that's why they were kind of doing hours in bulk. But
or they're doing it just for the hell of it.
Or that too. And which is, if I do it, that'll be the same reason. As long as I have something interesting to share. Obviously, if I do let's say a overnight stream, it's got to be entertaining, and hopefully have somebody on here to talk to me, and we can bounce ideas off of. But if I run out of ideas, I'm not going to sit here in front of a dead microphone, and that's just obviously everybody's going to tune out. And I want to keep it fresh and entertaining, pretty much. But that is a good idea, LDG.
Yeah, I won't be able to do your overnights with you.
I understand, and a lot of people do work, and I know there are people that are just getting started. It's both. Some of us are going to bed, some of us are just getting started with our day. So it's a great idea. What I'll do is I'll put up, like I said, a poll in my community tab, and in fact, what I'll do is when I put the poll up, I'll put yes or no. So
and you also have to consider if that's actually something you want to do.
I guess I don't mind if I don't have plans. It's just that I would take a nap during the day, honestly. As long as I don't have a doctor's appointment or something the next day, I could do it. I still have to take a break, though, to let my dogs out. Like right now, I can tell they're staring at me, so it's that time of night. So, as long as I can take breaks to let my dogs out, then I'll be good.
I considered popping on a long night stream if it was like on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
Well, I could always extend Rumblings from the Lab.
Yeah,
since that's already a Saturday night and it's a weekend for some people, right?
Yeah, if I knew it was going to be a long stream, I'd probably take a nap in the afternoon, like you mentioned, Pop, and just get a bit of sleep beforehand. But yeah, that would be fun.
If I did a Rumblings from the Lab, it could be 6 to 6, right?
Oh boy, I probably wouldn't last through the whole thing, but I'd give it a go.
And believe me, for me, that's mind-boggling. Because I'm not sure yet how I would do it, but if people want it, sure, I'd give it a try. Never hurts to try. But yeah, I'll put a poll up there in the community tab saying yes or no. Do you guys think I should do an overnight 12-hour stream? And I'll let
Frankly,
all
I
of
would
you
have done one
decide.
already by now if I didn't have children. They keep me from having longer than 4 or 5 hour streams.
Right, and mommy's job comes first, which is totally
Yeah,
understandable. So yes.
true enough.
And LDG also says I've been here, of course. Yeah, LDG listen. I know he says sometimes he'll listen while he's laying down in bed. So I hope you were entertained tonight, LDG, and I'm glad you came to say hello. Yep, about to lay down, he says. So yeah, that's about right. And then LDG says, "Yep." And Cody Guy says, "LDG, free the net." Hey, yes, everybody. LDG has a fantastic channel also. freethenet.org/underground. I hope I got that right. Is that right,
Yep.
Willa?
Yes, freethenet.org/underground.
Okay.
All
Let me
right.
show your magnificent faces again.
So
Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and close the poll in the chat and then share what people think of the episode. So let me end the poll, and thank goodness the poll is still there for me to end. And then after the poll, we'll show next week's cliffhanger before we end our stream. So
yeah,
make sure you stick around long enough for that cliffhanger, everyone.
yeah. LDG says good things happening.
Absolutely right. And here we go. Here's our poll for tonight. What grade would you give the Space Trader? It looks like we had 15 votes. Thank you, everybody, for voting, by the way. And it looks like we got 46% gave it an A plus to an A minus. Nice. 26 gave it B plus to B minus. 20% gave it C plus to C minus. And 6% gave it D plus to F minus. All right. Thank you, everybody, for voting. I really, really appreciate that. I'm glad that you guys interact with the channel. And we use it. I've said it before. We try to cover every chat. If we ever skip your chat and we don't mention it, please let me know. I know a lot of times we don't cover if people are saying hello to each other because they're usually talking to each other. But if you address somebody here on the panel or a comment about the episode, we want to make sure that we do cover it because nobody's censored on here. You guys are all nice guys, and I consider you all friends. All right. Are there any comments? Would anybody like to say anything on the panel before I show the preview for next week's episode?
Yeah, I just saw some sad news. David McCullum has
Yeah.
passed from Man
Yeah.
from
And you know
Uncle.
what?
I
I
just
was
saw
just
that.
reading it. I was just reading
Oh,
up on his whole biography just yesterday. And then I
No
heard that
way.
today, and it was like, wow, yeah. What's strange is I've done that quite often, where
Well, I
within a
only
day or
mentioned
two
it
of
because I
somebody
just
passing
really,
away.
yeah, I
Go
just
ahead.
really started watching that show this year.
you're
So,
you're
but
talking David McCallum from The Man from Uncle, right, Jill?
yeah, who plays
Nine,
Ilya?
90 years
Oh,
old, 90.
I had not heard that news today. Thanks for letting me know, but
Yeah, you're
that's one of
welcome.
my favorite shows of all time, and that really bums me out, to be honest.
Well,
Wow.
and right, and I'm not.
Mhm.
I have to admit, I didn't watch NCIS. I know he was in it, but if anybody out there who knows, can you tell me when was the last time he was in it? When did he retire? Did he ever retire? Did he shoot right up to the end as an actor?
Wait, wait. Just a sec. I'll get pulled up here. What was it Dave's?
McCallum, MCCA. That should be if you like
Yeah,
David MCCA.
David
Um,
McCallum. Yeah. Just look
David
up Man from Uncle, and you'll probably find him.
McCollum
I
NCIS.
know I watched NCIS for a number of years, but it went on for so bloody long. I gave up after
Oh,
maybe
It
8 years
says
or so.
his last episode was in 2022.
that was Ducky. Ducky died.
Yeah,
Oh, poor
Ducky died. Yeah,
Ducky.
yeah, Ducky. Yeah,
Ducky died.
yeah,
That's what they called him on NCIS.
Yeah,
yeah.
there
His,
was.
his nickname was Ducky. Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
because he
gotcha.
was Dr. Mallard.
Dr.
So,
Mallard. Yeah, it was hilarious, actually.
No,
so,
that's great.
so
That means he worked out. He worked all the way up till he was 89 years old.
Wow, till last year. That's awesome, actually. Great stuff.
I've seen clips of that show. He looked pretty good for his age.
He was really actually good in the role too, Pop. It's a show you might want to check out one of these years because it's actually a pretty
Oh,
good show.
NCIS.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. At least I enjoyed
No,
it.
I'm sure
in
it
its
is. I'm
early
sure
years.
it is. But yeah, I'm sure it is. But not in the modern day procedurals. They're a dime a dozen, unfortunately. I'll watch them. I'll be satisfied with Man from Uncle and The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that.
Ralph Waite was in it too, in NCIS too, and he passed away.
Yeah, Ralph Waite was. Yeah, Ralph Waite was in it, and he was really good in it too.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize him.
For those of you out there wondering, he was the father on the Waltons.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for mentioning his name, Jill. Shout out to David McCallum and his family. It's a tragedy.
definitely.
He's a fine actor. He's been around a long time, and he will be sorely missed.
Yeah, thanks
So, yeah, I
for
appreciate
letting
that.
us. Thanks for letting us know, Jill. I had not heard the news, and it's I love Dave McCallum. I think he was a great actor, and it does make my heart a bit heavy to hear that
Yeah,
news. But
yeah,
but
you're
thank you.
welcome. I didn't plan it or anything. I just looked at Twitter and it was there.
Oh
So you're
wow.
welcome.
Yeah, sigh. Oh
Mhm.
well, that's life, I guess.
It
Sean
is.
Carter says, "Oh man, that's too bad. I liked him." Yeah, I think most of us did. Sean says, "Hail Canadian Spider-Man." Absolutely, good to see you, Spidey. All right, with that, once again, I would really, really thank everybody on the panel for helping me out tonight. And Jill, once again, thank you for the excellent job you did on the slides.
You're welcome.
And everybody in the chat. Also, it was so great to have you guys all here. You guys keep me going every day, and I look forward to these streams all because of you. Because obviously, without you, I know I've said it before, but there would be no stream at all. So it really does mean a lot to me, and I do mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Okay, now let me get.
Yeah, let's see what that crown is about.
Here we go. And with that, everybody, please, if you're able to, here's the trade. We're going to close with the teaser for next week's episode, and then hope to see you tomorrow night for Scanners at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
His Most Exalted Majesty, Zachary the First, King of Andronica.
That does not necessarily compute.
You are king for festival of sacrifice. Your Majesty, if you must take me, I shall go as your king.
Warning, warning, Hannes Lupus and Ariel, warning.